1215, with the Magna Carta, the right to a trial by jury, going forward through the Civil War and eventually the Glorious Revolution, our own Bill of Rights in 1688, 1689, the sort of Whig supremacy of the 1700s, the growth of Parliament as an institution, the pluralist democracy that then evolved, and the power of the Crown that diminished over time. This is a country that, unlike those European countries, that actually the whole of the Eurasian landmass, in about 1940, the entirety of the Eurasian landmass, from Portugal to Japan, was under either fascism or communism, one form or other of dictatorial control, of totalitarian government. Britain was not. Britain alone stood free. And it was our continuous tradition of liberty that after the Second World War we then gave to the Europeans. There are some people who argue leaving the European Convention of Human Rights would be taking away rights from the United Kingdom. But that fundamentally misunderstands where the rights came from in the first place. The UK was such a large part of creating the ECHR. I believe Kemi Badenoch is coming up there, so I will now stop with my history lesson.
Yeah, sorry, Kemi Badenoch has just taken to the stage. Let's have a listen to what she has to say, and Nana Akua will be coming back after this, after we've heard Kemi speak.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you, conference. Thank you. Conservatives love Manchester. It is a great city of free trade and free thinking. 240 years ago, in the 1780s, this was still a small market town, but something was stirring, a spirit of enterprise that would turn Manchester into a global economic powerhouse. And it was back in the 1780s that the very first Jewish community was established in this city. A small group of families worshipping in a rented room in a back alley, just a short walk from where I am standing. And right from the very start, Jewish people have been part of the fabric of Manchester. They've been adding their distinct, unique contribution to this fantastic city, while at the same time embracing Britain as their home. The horrific and despicable attack at Heaton Park Synagogue on Thursday has shocked us all. But for many in the Jewish community, it did not come as a surprise. Many have been living with a sense of rising dread that an attack like this was becoming inevitable. Yesterday, I met members of the congregation and visited the site of the attack. The strength of Manchester's Jewish community is humbling. Targeting the center of community life on the holiest day of the year was not just an attack on British Jews, it was an attack on all of us. It was an attack on our humanity and our values of freedom, compassion, and respect. It was an attack on the idea that Britain is a safe place for Jews. On Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, Jews take time for introspection, to ask themselves, where have we gone wrong in the past, and what do we need to do to be better in the future? These are questions we urgently need to ask ourselves as a nation. Extremism has gone unchecked. You see it manifest in the shameful behavior on the streets of our cities, protests which are in fact carnivals of hatred directed at the Jewish homeland. You hear it in the asinine slogans. You hear it in From the River to the Sea, as if the homes, the lives of millions of Jewish people should be erased. You hear it in Globalize the Intifada, which means nothing at all if it doesn't mean targeting Jewish people for violence. We have tolerated this in our country for too long. And we have tolerated the radical Islamist ideology that seeks to threaten not only Jews, but all of us, of all faiths and none, who want to live in peace. So the message from this conference, from this party, from every decent and right-thinking person in this country must be that we will not stand for it anymore. We cannot import and tolerate values hostile to our own. We must now draw a line and say that in Britain, you can think what you like, and within the bounds of the law, you can say what you like, but you have no right to turn our streets into the theatres of intimidation, and we will not let you do so anymore. To our Jewish friends, we stand with you shoulder to shoulder. You are part of the fabric of Britain, and you always will be. We pray for the recovery of the victims still in hospital, and we mourn with you the loss of Adrian Dolby and Melvin Kravitz. May their memories be a blessing. But we must never let terrorism defeat our democratic process. We must demonstrate that it is through political argument, not violence, that we reach our decisions and improve our country. We all know the scale of the challenge we face, the mountain we have to climb. Last year, the public sent us a clear message, one we could not mistake and which we will never forget. They want serious change, for politics to be done differently so our country can get back on track. That's what I promised you when I stood for the leadership of our party. A reset. Politics done differently. Politics done properly. A Conservative Party under new leadership, ready to earn the trust of the British people again. In the last 12 months, we started doing politics in a new way. No more making the announcement first and then working out the policy details second. No more thinking that we can leave quangos and bureaucrats to their own devices and then wonder why we don't see results. No more accepting that our laws can be used as a tool to subvert democratic decisions and basic common sense. An end, once and for all, to the drift of our institutions away from truth, honesty, and decency, and a return to values that define our country at its best. That's what this week is all about. But I didn't say it would be easy, and I didn't say it would be quick. Nothing really worth doing is. Anyone who tells you that there are easy answers to the big questions our country faces is either lying to you or lying to themselves. We are taking a new approach, credible plans rooted in conservative values. Hard though the task is, we have plenty of reasons to be cheerful, because as one of my great predecessors, Margaret Thatcher, put it, the facts of life are conservative. The facts of life are conservative, conference. The fact that countries, like families, have to live within their means. The fact that individuals know better than governments how best to spend their own money. The fact that freedom depends on order and only works under the rule of law. There is a gap for the responsible, optimistic, competent conservative approach, an approach rooted in values. Values like personal responsibility. As my dad often said to me, only 20% of what happens to you is down to others. 80% is down to your actions and your choices. Like citizenship, a commitment to a country and the people in it. Family, in different shapes and sizes, the bedrock of social stability and the foundation of our society. Freedom, freedom to think, to speak, and to live as each of us chooses. These are the values of British people. They are crying out for a politics rooted in those values, which puts their needs first. Conference, they are crying out for a stronger economy, where hard work is rewarded and everyone has a chance to get on. For stronger borders, where we control who comes here and can remove those with no right to stay. This is our political DNA as Conservatives. Our job is to prove to the country that we are the only party that can deliver it. Conference, post-war, Conservatives spread prosperity and built millions of new homes, the bedrock of the property-owning democracy. In the 1980s, Mrs. Thatcher broke the cycle of high inflation, low growth, and trade union strife, giving Britain back her national pride and economic strength. Labour accuse us of achieving nothing in the 14 years since 2010. I'll tell you what we did. Remember what we inherited from them back then. They spent all the money, sold the gold, piled up debt. Like every Labour government in history, they left unemployment higher than they found it. We were elected to fix it, and Conservatives got to work. We slashed the deficit every year so that when the pandemic hit, we had the means to weather the storm. We reformed our schools to put rigor back into the curriculum, and today a whole generation of young people will enter the world with better maths and literary skills than any generation before them. We reformed welfare. We got people into work. 4 million new jobs were created, over 1 million new businesses. We gave the British people a choice on our membership of the EU, and we implemented that decision. And what followed? The fastest vaccine rollout in the West. Billions of pounds worth of trade deals. No other party would have done these things, but they were right for our country, and we can all be proud of them. And Conference, we mustn't forget that in each election, from 2010 to 2019, our vote share went up. That's unprecedented in modern history. And the British people don't get it wrong. But if we take pride in what we got right, we also have to face up to what we got wrong. People won't listen to us again until we show them we have learned from our mistakes and changed. We've got to do this, and we have to do it properly. What have we learned? That you can't have a budget that has £150 billion of spending giveaways and billions more in tax cuts without saying where the money is coming from. We have to show that we have learned from the policy mistake of letting bureaucrats decide the immigration system. We failed to bring numbers down and stop the boats, let's be honest. That happened on our watch. Yes, we tried, but put simply, we didn't achieve enough. After years of responsible and effective government, our mistakes on the economy and on immigration lost us the trust and confidence of the public. So we start this week saying we have learned, and we will never repeat the financial irresponsibility of spending commitments without saying where the money is coming from. Never again, Conference. This week, we will set out how we have changed, how we will be different, and most importantly, how we will make a difference. Economic responsibility is the hallmark of the Conservative approach, and today it is right back at the heart of everything we stand for. We may be in Manchester, but the theme of economic responsibility will run through this conference like the words in a stick of Blackpool rock. There are two parts of our message at this conference: stronger economy, stronger borders. It is stronger borders that I want to talk to you about today. I was elected leader because I promised to renew this party and our policies, so we can win the next election and then rewire the state to make it work for people again. We are not interested in superficial fixes. Instead, we are taking a systemic approach, asking the difficult questions that others avoid. We have the courage to follow through with credible plans to answer them. It's the rigorous, practical, conservative way. And on so many of those questions, the answers come back to the same thing. Why is it that every time we try to build anything in this country, we have to spend millions of pounds on paperwork and still get bogged down in litigation? Why are protesters allowed to block roads and disrupt lives time and time again? Why are our veterans relentlessly chased through the courts by activist lawyers? Why couldn't we deport those foreign nationals who raped girls in communities across the UK? Why do we still allow them to remain in the very same towns where their victims live? Why? It is fundamental. Why can't we control our borders and remove those who need to go? All these questions boil down to who should make the laws that govern the United Kingdom. Conservatives believe it should be our sovereign parliament, accountable to the British people. The reality today is that this is simply not the case. I saw it again and again in government. So often we had the right instincts and the right policies, but our hands were tied by a system that frustrated democratic control. This use of litigation as a political weapon is what I call lawfare. Well-meaning treaties and statutes like the European Convention on Human Rights and the European Convention on Action Against Trafficking, drafted with the best of intentions in generations gone by, and more recent additions, like the Modern Slavery Act, are now being used in ways never intended by their original authors. What should be shields to protect the vulnerable have instead become swords to attack democratic decisions and frustrate common sense. Conference, this isn't just damaging our security, it's also damaging our prosperity. It is that whole system which we need to reform, and the place to start is the European Convention on Human Rights. None of us had a problem with the rights in the original charter. It was drafted in 1950 by British lawyers, conservative lawyers, and it drew on British traditions. The problems stem from how it has been enforced and how its meaning has been twisted and changed. Today, it is used as a block on deportations, a weapon against veterans, and a barrier to sentencing and public order. Labour pretend it can be fixed. But when a group of 9 European countries, led by Italy, recently pushed for reforms at the court, the Labour government did not support them. They wouldn't even try. Our human rights lawyer Prime Minister and his good friend, the Attorney General, an Attorney General who likened those of us questioning ECHR membership to Nazis, will never fix this problem. Instead, Conference, they have gone in the opposite direction, paying to surrender British territory in the Chagos Islands and plotting to force everyone in this country to carry Starmer's digital ID. Conference, we will fight them every step of the way. Reform just shout that we should leave the ECHR without any plan to do so or understanding any of the consequences. They are practicing that old failed politics I talked about, that politics of announcements without a plan. That is the way to chaos and failure. It is only the Conservatives who are taking the honest, responsible approach, prepared with a plan to deliver. To make sure we can strike at the root of the problem, we need to understand the full extent of the problem. That's why I identified 5 essential policies that the government must be able to implement if we are to secure our border and restore order to our society. 5 tests that a country has to pass to be truly sovereign. First, can we deport foreign criminals and those who are here illegally? Second, can we stop our veterans being harassed through the courts? Third, can we put British citizens first for social housing and public services? Fourth, can we make sure protests do not intimidate people or stop them living their lives? And finally, can we stop endless red tape and legal challenges just choking off economic growth? Any self-respecting sovereign nation should be able to answer all 5 of those questions with a clear yes. Conference, anything that is stopping us from doing so is a barrier we have to remove. So I asked the Shadow Attorney General, the distinguished King's Counsel, Lord Wolfson, to lead an in-depth analysis. The question I posed was whether these 5 tests can be lawfully met as a signatory to the European Convention on Human Rights, bound by the court in Strasbourg. And I want to thank Lord Wolfson for his immense and detailed work. So forensic, so thorough. Thank you. In nearly 200 pages of legal advice, he has provided his answer. This is what he said. When it comes to control of our sovereign borders, preventing our military veterans from being pursued indefinitely, ensuring prison sentences are applied rigorously for serious crimes, stopping disruptive protests, or placing blanket restrictions on foreign nationals in terms of social housing and benefits, the only way such positions are feasible would be to leave the ECHR. And so to me and the Shadow Cabinet, the resulting policy decision is also clear. We must leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act. Conference, I want you to know that the next Conservative manifesto will contain our commitment to leave. Leaving the convention is a necessary step, but it is not enough on its own to achieve our goals. If there are other treaties and other laws we need to revise or revisit, then we will do so. And we will do so in the same calm and responsible way, working out the detail before we rush to announce. The rights we enjoy did not come from the ECHR. They were there for hundreds of years in our common law. Parliament has legislated over centuries to reflect and protect our freedoms. Human rights in the United Kingdom did not start in 1998 with the Human Rights Act, and they will not end with it. As we work through our detailed plan, we are clear that leaving the ECHR and repealing the Human Rights Act will not mean that we lose any of the rights we cherish. But this is the only way to end spurious legal claims from immigrants with dubious stories and excuses. This is the only way to allow a British government, the next Conservative government, to deliver a British borders plan in full. Conference, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp, has done a brilliant job pulling together this borders plan. The Conservatives are a strong team, and he will be saying more about this shortly, including our plans to remove 150,000 illegal migrants a year. Lord Wolfson has also advised that leaving the ECHR is fully compatible with the Belfast Agreement, the Good Friday Agreement, but I know that there will be particular challenges in Northern Ireland. But difficulties are not a reason to avoid action. They are a reason to work harder to get it right. So, thank you. So, to ensure that this is an orderly and respectful process across the whole United Kingdom, I am asking Shadow Northern Ireland Secretary Alex Burghardt to lead a review into union-wide implementation. So at the next election, we will present the people of the United Kingdom with a clear, thorough and robust plan. Not the vague mush that we see day in, day out from Labour, nor the vacuous posturing that we see day in, day out from Reform. Conference. You would have seen last week both Labour and Reform shouting at one another, trading insults instead of solutions. One flings around the word racist and will not be realistic about what is going wrong. The other whips up outrage, offering simplistic answers that will fall apart on first contact with reality. That is not serious politics. Conference, neither of those parties offers the leadership that Britain deserves. The truth is that Labour and Reform are two sides of the same coin. Both deal in grievance, both divide our country into tribes and labels, both practice identity politics which will destroy our country. And I am saying no, no to division and no to identity politics. Conference, what Britain needs is national unity. I am black, I am a woman, I am a conservative, and I know that identity politics is a trap. It reduces people to categories and then pits them against each other. But I am more than black, female, and even conservative. I am British. Conference, I am British, as we all are. My children are British, and I will not allow anyone on the left to tell them that they belong in a different category, or anyone on the right to tell them that they do not belong in their own country. Yes, Britain is a multiracial country. That is part of our modern story. But it must never become a multicultural country where shared values dissolve, loyalty fragments, and we foment the homegrown terrorism that we saw on the streets of Manchester this week. Nations cannot survive on diversity alone. We need a strong common culture, rooted in our history, our language, our institutions, and our belief in liberty under the law. That is what holds us together, and that is why borders matter, why numbers matter, but most of all, why culture matters. Who comes here, why they come, and how they contribute. That is how we protect the inheritance that generations before us fought for and died for. Britain needs deep change. But I reject the politics that everything must go, that everything must be torn down, that everything is broken. But if we leave it to Labour or Reform, Britain will be divided. Only the Conservatives can bring this country back together. This is a battle we must win. by combining secure borders with a shared culture, strong values, and the confidence of a great nation, we can win the debate and win the next election. Conference, this is a party under new leadership and with a renewed purpose. We have listened, we have learned, and we have changed. Only Conservatives will tell you the truth. Only Conservatives will take the difficult decisions, do the hard work. Only Conservatives have the courage, the honesty, and the plan to strengthen our borders, restore our sovereignty, and rebuild our prosperity. So I say to you all, as we start our conference, yes, we have a mountain to climb, but we have a song in our hearts, and we are up for the fight. Thank you. Thank you.
So that was Kemi Badenoch giving her opening for the Tory party conference. She talked about the scale of the challenge. She came up with 5 tests. She also talked about how only the Conservatives will tell you the truth, and pointed to the 2 other main parties, of course, being the Labour Party and Reform UK, saying that one was vague and the other one was vacuous. All very interesting. Right, well, let's cross live to the conference in Liverpool and speak with GBNews' political editor, Christopher Hope. So there she was, Kemi Badenoch, giving her speech. Give us more about that speech.
Hi, Nana. Yeah, well, it's based on this document, this legal ruling by David Wolfson, Lord Wolfson, of course, setting out why he thinks this party should fight the next election on a policy of leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. She said there, didn't she, Kemi Badenoch, credible plans rooted in conservative values. The facts of life are conservative, he said. Nations cannot survive on diversity alone, using a part of the Bible there and reorientating it towards the issue facing politicians nowadays. And those 5 tests, of course, with plans for a British borders plan. Here it is, if this party wins the next election. But with me now, I've got Sir Robert Buckland. He's a former Attorney General, a former Justice Secretary, who was a Remainer in 2016 and may not be happy with this. Let's ask him now. Robert Buckland, are you happy with your party fighting the next election on a policy of leaving the European Convention on Human Rights?
Look, I'm really very happy with a lot of what I've just heard from Kemi Badenoch. Really strong messages about who we are, this island nation, the history and the patriotism that I think every true Tory feels. But I think with regard to the European Convention on Human Rights, you know, looking at the small print, it's a thorough document that David Wolfson has done. But the idea that leaving it is going to be the answer to all our problems, I'm afraid, is not right. I think there are plenty of things we can do, and a lot of it's in this excellent document, the Borders document's been published today, that do not lead us to leave a convention that we wrote, British lawyers wrote, that we led on, and which is part of British power in the world. You can't just leave everything all the time you don't like things. You know, this country's, not just its political, but its economic strength is based upon our international profile, and leaving sends entirely the wrong message when the main issue is our economy and making sure that we can put food on our tables and grow jobs and wealth to make this country strong.
You've been 40 years a member, 15 years an MP, 8 years a minister. That's a lot of service to a party there. The party that you're in had Eurosceptic MPs when it was pro-EU.
Yeah.
That was fine.
Yeah.
Why is that not fine under the current plans?
Look, I just say, I'm really pleased that Kemi is showing leadership. I supported her. I support her utterly. I want her to succeed. And I've come to Manchester because old habits die hard, Chris.
You can't stay away.
And I'm a loyal Tory. I believe in this party. I believe that we are still the best hope for this country, despite all the difficulties that we've had. And we paid a huge price, me included, last year. But we're learning our lesson. And I thought today was the signs of a real fight back. But, you know, I think the message is we're a broad church. we have people with different views. We had friends who wanted to leave the EU years before it became fashionable, who remained as Tory MPs. Now, I think there is room for people of my opinion and others who want to contribute to the broad church, who are loyal to the leadership, but just see things a slightly different way from this rather binary approach, this sledgehammer that's being taken to crack the nut, which I think is solvable in other ways.
She says to GBNews today that if you don't back the campaign or the policy of leaving the European Convention on Human Rights, you can't be a candidate at the next election.
Well,
That's
look,
you.
Well, of course it is.
That's Buckland out.
Well, I mean, it's for others to judge whether that's a good thing. And some people might be cheering at the television, other people might be weeping into their beer. I still want to serve this party. I care deeply about it.
But you can't be an MP.
That's why I stood last time. Well, my message to Kemi and all my friends in the leadership is, look, there should be room for people like me, because it's not just about me, it's about the voters that we lost, either to the stay-at-homes who stayed on their sofas, and there were millions of them, or ones who didn't vote Reform but might have voted in some of the leafy shires, Lib Dem, because they thought we weren't up to the job. We need these people back. Don't forget us.
So your advice to Kemi Badenoch is don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Exactly.
OK, Robert Buckland, thank you for joining us. Robert Buckland there. Not all Tories are welcoming this change in policy from Kemi Badenoch. But now, with the latest from members leaving that speech, here's Tom Harwood.
That's right, Chris. This is frankly the busiest I've seen this party conference so far. Lots of members flooding out of the room. Let me see if I can grab some opinions. Excuse me, sir. What did you make of Kemi Badenoch's speech?
I thought it was amazing. I think it's decisive, accurate, and she's got a plan to actually make it work and actually go lead us into the May elections next year, which I'm standing, which is great. So I think she's going to be really, really good at it, and I'm really proud.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can grab some more thoughts from people. Excuse me, you're live on GB News. Do you mind if I ask what you thought of Kemi's speech?
I thought it was a good speech, yeah. I mean, we pretty much already knew the announcement that was coming on leaving the ECHR, but yeah, I was very happy with it. I think it's time to move on from the past. I really admired the fact that she spoke about the good things that we did in government. It wasn't all negative. We had a very good record on education. We left the EU. We've done a lot of things like that, so I'm very proud of the speech, and I'm looking forward to seeing the other policy announcements that she has to bring.
Thank you very much indeed. Let's see if we can grab anyone else. Excuse me, do you mind talking? No? OK. Excuse me, you're live on GB News. What do you make of the speech? No? Not many people willing to talk. Interesting. Excuse me, can I interrupt here? What did you make of the speech?
I thought she was impressive. You know, we've owned the mistakes we've made, and we're looking forward. Good announcement on the ECHR as far as I'm concerned, and here's to the future under a strong Conservative government.
Great. Well, Nana, that's an interesting flavour of people here just outside where Kemi Badenoch opened this conference. Lots more to come over the next 3 days.
All right, Tom Harwood, thank you very much. That's GBNews' Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, and before that, Christopher Hope, who joined us in Manchester for some reaction. Right, well, joining me now, commentator Aman Bogle and political commentator Andy Williams. Right, Aman, I'm going to come to you because you are a Conservative, are you not?
I'm indeed a Conservative. I have been, well, I joined the party when I was still at school in '97, when the last time the party was in this position of being in the doldrums. And you know what, Nana, I think Kemi summed up the mood of Conservatives herself when she said people won't listen to the Conservatives again until they have shown them we have learned from our mistakes. And you know what? That's the big issue. It's going to be a very long road to credibility and an even longer journey to regaining the trust of the British public, who for 5 consecutive elections voted to lower migration. It didn't happen. They wanted secure borders. It didn't happen. But you know what? There's one thing that nobody's still talking about, and that's the Blairite orthodoxy of the last 3 decades. No matter who comes in, until we deal with the big, fat, great blob, that is the Home Office, that the Civil Service, nothing will change.
What do you think, Andy Williams? You listened to that?
So I think there are 3 reasons why the Tories are in the position they're in, and Aman's already mentioned a couple of them. One is the fact that over many, many years they presided over really sharply rising net migration. When the Tories came into power in 2010, net migration was 250,000. 2023, over 900,000. I mean, if that's not a record of failure, I don't know what is. Secondly, very obviously, Liz Truss's total disaster. I mean, that is the thing that is etched in the memories of the British public. And it's going to take a long time, I think, for Kemi Badenoch or Robert Jenrick when he becomes Labour Conservative Party leader next year to get that out of people's minds. It's not for certain, but if I was a betting man, I'd be pretty confident that he will be speaking this time next year at this conference. Now, one thing I would say is I do think she's getting better. I think that speech, actually, I don't agree with lots of the things she said, but I think the speech itself was pretty good. I think her diagnosis, you know, saying that Reform are whipping up sort of hatred and outrage and that their ideas would fall apart when they come into contact with reality, I think that's correct. And I think she can tap into a lot of the frustration and anger with Labour. So charting that middle path is where I think the Tories have an opportunity to reposition themselves as the party of business, the party of the sensible, mainstream sort of, you know, economic competence again. That, I think, is where you get some joy, because neither Labour or Reform are showing that right now.
You think? I don't know. I think, yes, I agree with you that her speech was a little bit better. But I just think that she's toast. I think it's not going to happen. She hasn't really got the power to do anything because she hasn't got the support of the party. And the things that she was saying were things that she could have been, the party themselves could have been doing when they were in power. So you listen to it and you think, well, why didn't you do all this when you were in power? And then she did sit on the fence previously about the ECHR. If I have to, then I will, but I'm not sure. And now finally she's realised that that's the way forward. It's just too vague.
Indeed. I mean, it was only last year that Kemi said that leaving the ECHR is not a silver bullet. I mean, there's a bit of a sort of, you know, fence-sitting going on there at that time. But don't forget, you know, this week coming up is going to be the 100th centenary of Margaret Thatcher's birth. And that's the big question here. You know, last time we had a proper Conservative Prime Minister was the Iron Lady, Lady Thatcher.
What, not John Major? John Major was Prime Minister for 7 years. No. He was a Conservative.
Well, only because he didn't
win, though, did he? Really?
I mean, look,
he did. He won the biggest popular vote ever at the time in 1992.
My big question is, WWMTD, what would Margaret Thatcher do?
Oh, this is the problem. This is the whole problem with the Conservative Party, because you're looking back to a different era.
It's not looking back. It's the same problems that affect the UK today.
Listen, the Conservative Party have brought in, they're the ones that were the arbiters of net zero. They're the ones that had the highest level of mass legal migration. And, of course, the boat started during their era as well. And all of these things were supposed to be very Conservative things, and they trashed the economy, I'm sorry. But none of those things are Conservative. But what do you think? GBNews.com/your say. Still to come. Lots more reaction to the Conservatives' plan to leave the ECHR. But is it too little too late for the Tories? Stay tuned for that. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast of some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
It's been very unsettled across parts of the eastern Mediterranean, and it will stay pretty wet across Greece and parts of the Balkans through the next few days. But Iberia, the Canary Islands and also Madeira having plenty of fine weather through the day on Monday. 1 or 2 showers for eastern Spain, but lots of fine sunny conditions across Italy too. We'll run into those thunderstorms and heavy spells of rain there across Greece, some stronger winds as well. And as we go towards Tuesday in the middle part of the week, that unsettled weather will push in towards Turkey as well, so potentially some flooding here.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there short and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, this is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. Welcome. Now, it's just coming up to 9 minutes to 4 o'clock, and it's been a dramatic 24 hours in the Middle East, with signs emerging that a possible end to the Israel-Gaza war may be within reach. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu expressed that he hopes to announce the release of the hostages within the coming days, as indirect ceasefire talks are expected to begin between the parties in Egypt on Monday. But can Israel be expected to hold up their end of the bargain? Let's cross live to Manchester, where our political editor Christopher Hope is joined by Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell. Chris.
Thank you, Nana. Yeah, joining me now is Sharon Haskell, Israel's Foreign Minister. You must welcome...
Deputy Foreign Minister.
Deputy Foreign Minister, forgive me. You must welcome, though, this progress being made by Donald Trump and with both sides in this Gaza war.
Absolutely. And Israel has accepted the peace plan of Donald Trump. The Arab countries accepted the peace plan. We were hoping that maybe Hamas will accept it. Unfortunately, we're not quite there yet. So we're sending a delegation to Doha to start the negotiation, to see what are the terms that Hamas actually want and start the talks. We're very hopeful. Whenever Israel has a diplomatic path, we will choose it. When we are left with no other choice, we will fight to bring our hostages back and to dismantle Hamas.
There are two things happening. So the hostages will come home, that's what you hope, and then you want Hamas to disarm. That could be where the problem is.
Well, absolutely, but we cannot afford them staying in power, because that means the 7th of October will happen again. Hundreds of hostages will be abducted again. This means another massacre. And this is what they're saying in the news, all their leadership. They're not hiding it.
The 7th two-year anniversary is this week. You've been in a commemoration today. Of course, we had those dreadful killings a few miles from where I'm sitting here in Manchester last Thursday. What do you make of that? What's happening in this country?
Well, anti-Semitism is absolutely out of control. There's no enforcement. The only thing the Jewish community is asked is to enforce the law. The fact is that people are allowed to go and chant, death chant, racist chants that are calling for that violence and the murder of the Jewish community. They're heartbroken, they're shattered, and it cannot continue like that. Words are not enough.
The two things happening there. There's anti-Semitism and there's criticism of Israel's foreign policy. The latter is what people want to do, but it falls into the former as well, you think?
I'm sorry?
Well, they're confusing two things, the anti-Semitism and also criticising Israel's foreign policy.
They are they're using the conflict in Israel to target Jewish community and kill them. The thing is that the war in Israel is not a territorial war. This is an ideological war between radical Islam, between barbarism and Western democracy's values. Western society values freedom, justice, the rule of law. That's the reality. And when you see them importing that conflict here, it means that you have a serious problem where people are allowed and are pushing for violence against Jews, but it's not going to end with Jews. This problem has to be dealt with now, and not with words, but with actions.
Sharon Haskell, I'm sorry we're so brief. It's a busy time of the conference, but thank you for joining us.
Thank you very
Sharon
much.
Haskell, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Israel.
All right, thank you very much, Christopher. I hope he's there at the Conservative Party conference. We'll be going in and out of there over the next few hours, but coming up next in my niggle, why it's too little too late for the Conservatives to save themselves. Stay tuned to find out what that's about. gbnews.com/your say. Keep your comments coming. Plus, don't forget, if you haven't already done so, to download the GB News app to check out all the programmes on the channel. It is completely free. But first, let's get an update with your weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon, welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Amy brought plenty of disruption on Saturday, but the rest of today is turning a little more settled. Those winds continue to ease as we go through the rest of the day. That's all thanks to high pressure developing down towards the south, helping space those isobars apart a little more through Sunday afternoon, though perhaps still a little breezy across the very far north, and still perhaps a little cloudier here too. Outbreaks of rain still feeding in from the west, turning perhaps a little heavier and very persistent at times. Plenty of cloud around to end the day across the northern half of the country, but further south turning a little drier overnight. Plenty of clear spells developing, and under those clear spells perhaps the odd patch of mist and fog in places, maybe temperatures here dropping down into the mid-single figures, so perhaps a little bit of a chillier start to the day here. But further north, where we do hold on to that cloud and rain, it'll be a bit of a mild start to the new working week, and quite a damp start too across northern and western parts of Scotland. Mostly light, persistent rain feeding in from the west, that continuing throughout much of Monday morning, but staying a little dry across eastern parts of Scotland. A cloudier start to the day across much of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some low cloud, mist and murk over the hills. But for much of southern central parts of England, much of Wales too, it'll be a dry and bright start to the day on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we do see should clear relatively quickly. And that sets us up through much of the day on Monday. That north-south split continues across the country. The south holding on to the best of any sunshine, perhaps some quite prolonged sunshine here, but the north always holding on to that little bit more cloud. Outbreaks of persistent rain feeding in across western parts of Scotland. Temperatures will be up on Monday compared to Sunday, well above average for the time of year, particularly across the south and the east, 20, 21 degrees, and even eastern parts of Scotland could see temperatures into the low 20s. But that north-south split continues as we go throughout Monday evening. The north always holding on to the worst of any conditions in terms of rainfall. And that continues as we go into Tuesday too, but turning a little drier and more settled for most of us by the end of the week, and temperatures staying around average for the time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 4 o'clock and for the next few hours, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next few hours, political commentator Aman Bogle, and also political commentator Andy Williams. Coming up in my niggle.
We must leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act.
The Tories considered one of the most successful political parties in history, but it could be all over for them. I'll lay out my reasons why in my niggle in just a moment. You won't want to miss that. Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, do you trust the Tories on immigration? After Badenoch has pledged to deport 150,000 migrants a year, but didn't they have the opportunity to do this when they were in government? My poll is up live on gbnews.com. Please cast your vote. Then, in the interview, joining me in the studio, stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson to discuss his life and career, as well as his new streaming service that features exclusive stand-up shows and in-depth interviews. Stay tuned. All of that coming up on the show. As ever, we'll be debating lots of things, including this.
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public.
Now, David Lammy, of course, apologised for that, but should Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer apologise over the Nigel Farage racism row that critics say was sparked by him and his front benchers? But before that, let's get your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Nana, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB newsroom. Kemi Badenoch has announced she will take Britain out of the European Court of Human Rights if the Conservative Party wins the next election. In her keynote speech at the party conference, she branded Labour and Reform UK as two sides of the same coin and was adamant the Tories are the only party who can secure Britain's borders.
We've got to do this and we have to do it properly. What have we learned? That you can't have a budget that has £150 billion of spending giveaways and billions more in tax cuts without saying where the money is coming from. We have to show that we have learned from the policy mistake of letting bureaucrats decide the immigration system. We failed to bring numbers down and stop the boats. Let's be honest, that happened on our watch. Yes, we tried, but put simply, we didn't achieve enough.
Meanwhile, a donor and personal advisor to the Conservative Party leader has defected to Reform UK. Mark Gallagher reportedly donated £2,000 to Kemi Badenoch last October, weeks before she was chosen to succeed Rishi Sunak. People have gathered in Manchester to commemorate those who were killed in Thursday's terror attack on a synagogue. One of the men who died, Melvin Kravitz's funeral was held this morning, and details of Adrian Dorby's funeral are to be announced soon. 3 men remain in hospital. One of them is in a critical condition, but the other 2 are now stable. 2 people who were arrested on suspicion of preparing terrorist acts have been released. Counter-terrorism police have been granted extra time to question 4 others. Police are to be given greater powers to restrict repeat protests. It comes just a day after almost 500 people were arrested at a pro-Palestine demonstration in central London. The majority were detained on suspicion of supporting the banned group Palestine Action. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, says these frequent large-scale protests have caused considerable fear to the Jewish community. Police are treating a suspected arson attack at a mosque in East Sussex as a hate crime. It's reported the fire brigade put out a large blaze in front of the mosque in Peacehaven. Police said no one was harmed. Several local authorities, including the Labour MP for the area, Chris Ward, have condemned the incident as deeply distressing and a disgusting act of violence. And Israel's Prime Minister says he hopes to announce the release of all remaining hostages in Gaza within the coming days. Benjamin Netanyahu says the military and diplomatic pressure of Israel and the US has forced Hamas to agree to some of Donald Trump's peace plan. However, sticking points over the group's disarmament remain. Israel is sending negotiators to Egypt for indirect talks with the group tomorrow. They'll be joined by senior US envoys and Arab mediators. You're up to date, and now it's back to Nana.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We are Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's fast approaching 6 minutes after 4 o'clock. The Conservatives, the oldest political party in the UK and often thought to be one of the most successful political parties in the world, with over loads of members over the last 100 years. They've been in power for more than 2/3 of the time. But unfortunately, they're in a bit of a sticky spot. Back in the day, the Tories were revered. What was it they called them? Impressive and ruthless, especially in eliminating electoral liabilities and, in particular, in removing its own leaders, which ultimately became their downfall. They've had some impressive ones nonetheless, the best, in my view, being Mrs Thatcher, the Iron Lady.
The honourable member is saying is that he would rather the poor were poorer, provided the rich were less rich. That way you will never create the wealth for better social services as we have.
But since then, the party has been in decline. I admit I voted for Boris, whom I still hold in high regard, and I think he was totally shafted by his own party. I didn't always agree with him, but he had the necessary charisma to lead, something that is somewhat lacking in the leaders that followed. In the end, they actually did him a favour by getting rid of him. Since David Cameron ran away after Brexit, and which didn't go his way, we've had 5 Tory leaders. Theresa May, 2016 to 2019.
Of modern Britain, in all its diversity, compassion and strength, that was shared around the globe, and it said something about us.
I remember that when the numbers fell off. Boris Johnson, 2019 to 2022.
Yesterday I went, as we all must, to Peppa Pig World. I don't know if you've been to Peppa Pig World. Who's been to? Hands up anyone who's been to Peppa Pig World.
The Right Honourable Liz Truss, 2022.
There will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. This will ensure that we remain on a path to deliver our fiscal plans and maintain our country's economic stability and national security.
a path that didn't really go that far. I think it was 44 days, was it? The Right Honourable Rishi Sunak, 2022 to 2024.
Now is the moment for Britain to choose its future, to decide whether we want to build on the progress we have made or risk going back to square one with no plan and no certainty. Earlier today, I spoke with His Majesty the King to request the dissolution of Parliament. The King has granted this request, and we will have a general election on the 4th of July.
I'm singing in the rain. And now, new leader Kemi Badenoch.
We must leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act. But this is the only way to end spurious legal claims from immigrants with dubious stories and excuses. This is the only way to allow a British government, the next Conservative government, to deliver a British borders plan in full.
But can Kemi keep the party together after a slew of former MPs and ministers have defected to Reform UK? Jake Berry, David Jones and Dean Doris, and the most recent and first ever standing MP, Danny Kruger, giving Reform UK another seat. Today, one of the Conservative Party's biggest donors defected to Reform UK. You see, the problem is that the Tories failed us on immigration and the economy, which are the two things that they were meant to be good at. DEI became a thing under their watch and they created net zero. Also under their watch, legal migration reached 1 million, and under their watch, the dinghies started arriving. Their half-baked Brexit deal, negotiated, in my view, by people who didn't want to leave the EU, left the UK wide open and weak. They handed Labour a rotten hand, and not all their fault, mind. We had COVID and war. But the problem was that the Tories just weren't Conservative. And now Kemi Badenoch has pledged to deport 150,000 illegal migrants a year with new Trump-style immigration squads, and she wants to ditch the ECHR and net zero. All things they should have done when in office. She's hemorrhaging members to Reform UK. They're defecting like rats leaving a sinking ship. The question is, who's next? I'm afraid it's too little, too late. But before we get stuck into the debate, here's what else is coming up today. We'll be live at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester as Tory leader Kemi Badenoch pledges to deport 150,000 migrants a year and to leave the ECHR. But can they really be trusted on immigration? That is my poll. It's live on gbnews.com. Cast your vote. Then for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, could defecting Tories ruin Reform UK? A number of current and former Tory MPs have moved to Nigel Farage's party, but does this not put them at risk of becoming Conservatives 2.0? We'll be debating that, and in Worldview, we'll cross live to the United States to speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Dudridge, to discuss Donald Trump's chances of a Nobel Peace Prize. All of that coming up. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. Well, let's speak to Andrew Allison, who is from the Popular Conservatism group. Andrew, I'm literally waiting to hear the next defection. It's concerning. What are your thoughts? Kemi gave quite a good speech, I thought. It was quite impassioned. How are you feeling at this conference today?
Well, I've just arrived, actually, Nana, and I haven't listened to her speech in full. I have heard various clips of it. It does appear to be a good speech, and it appears to be very well received. But the charge list that you read out there for about 5 minutes, it seemed like at the top of the hour, is very true. And the problems that the Conservative Party faces is that the main problem, anyway, is that the public just doesn't trust it after 14 years, and it's got to be able to rebuild that trust, which means not just saying sorry, it means telling the people what they are sorry for, what went wrong, and what must be done to fix it.
You see, I read that out because I wrote that, and I was thinking that you might defend some of it, but I'm glad to hear that you appreciate that I did vote Conservative, before, and I was a Conservative voter. I've also voted Labour under Tony Blair, and I've pretty much voted for every party as it goes. Just depends what they say and then how they perform. And it would be very difficult for the Conservatives to come back from their last term in office. So What do you think? Do you believe that your party can actually come back from this?
You never say never in politics, Nana. I mean, if you've gone to a similar period after a general election in March 2021, and you'd said, well, what I think will happen at the next general election is Labour will win a landslide majority, I think you'd have been laughed at. But of course, that is exactly what happened. And we don't know what's going to happen to reform. I mean, reform could implode in some way. Things could go badly wrong for reform. We're a long way out from a general election. I do think that the party leadership has wasted quite a number of months. It should have been detailing some very clear Conservative positions. We don't need the actual policies that immediately after the election this will happen and that will happen. We don't really need those details, but we certainly needed a lot more Conservative positions. Which direction is the party going in? Now, we know from recent announcements on net zero last week, and of course over the weekend to do with the ECHR, what the clear Conservative position is, and that's absolutely fantastic, but we need more of them. And I'll just reiterate, what Kemi has to do and what the Shadow Cabinet has to do is said this is the reason why we got it so badly wrong, and this is what we need to do to put it right, and then hopefully build the trust with the voters.
Well, it says something when you're saying, well, maybe reform will implode and then you maybe get some. I think even if reform do go a bit awry on a few things, I don't think the British public will leave Reform UK. I think Reform have touched a real nerve with the British public, and I think that this two-party system, I think that this system is really the problem, really, and people have had enough with the main parties. I'm not sure the Conservatives can get back, but do you think maybe changing the leader potentially to Robert Jenrick might help a little in some way?
We seem to be changing leaders on a regular basis. I mean, my colleague Mark Littlewood said that the Conservative Party changes leaders more often than the chairman sack their football managers in the Premier League. It's really that bad. The results of the local elections in May, could they really be put at the door of Kemi Badenoch, or were they just already baked in? Indeed, are the results next year just already baked in? The Conservative Party is going through a very difficult time, probably the most difficult time that it ever has in its history. All it can do is just to be Conservative again and try to build up trust. That, of course, comes from the grassroots as well. It means local campaigners for councils, setting out their stall, and means building up trust. And that's all the party can do. Do I think that Reform is going to implode? No, I honestly don't think that it is. But it may not stick at the same sort of levels in the polls as it's polling now.
I think it may even go higher. But listen, I appreciate your resolve to stay with the party, because most people are leaving like rats leaving a sinking ship. But it's good to talk to you. Thank you very much, Andrew Addison, for your time. Enjoy the conference. That's Andrew Addison. He's there. He's a popular Conservative. He's part of that group, and he's at the Tory Party conference. Well, let's have a chat with GBNews Deputy Political Editor Tom Harwood, who joins us live from conference as well for some more reaction. Tom, how was that speech received, and what's going on there? Hello.
Hello. Yes, it was received actually relatively well. I think it was to her favour that Kemi Badenoch sort of stepped into identity politics. It's something she's been quite strong on in the past, but talking about how Britain is a multiracial society, but shouldn't become the sort of multicultural society that foments terrorism and creates segmented communities and all the rest of it. That was the serious stuff. But Nana, I've brought you to one of the fun sort of games that they have here at Conservative Party conference. It's a bit like a fairground. They've got a game called Whack a Taxpayer. This in Labour's Circus of Despair. That's what this sort of setup is all called. And we've got a couple of members here. What are your names, guys?
My name's Danny. Very nice to meet you.
Hello, I'm Luke. And you're going to be playing Whack a Taxpayer. How does it work?
I think, well, I'm blue, so if one of these circles comes up blue, I have to whack it like that. And if anyone's red, I've got to hit them.
Right, well, give it your best shot, lads.
Right.
Wait, do they like pop-up?
Good luck.
So, yeah, there you go. It's a classic whack-a-mole style game, but who says that you can't be having fun while you're doing politics? I mean, there's also this game here, which is the Wheel of Tax. Let's give that a spin and see where it might end up. Where might we be taxing next in what the Conservatives are calling Labour's circus of despair? Oh, that's the family homes tax. But of course, they've written up the family farms tax, investment tax, all the taxes they say that the Labour Party is getting on. But there's also this here. I wonder if I'm about to embarrass myself enormously, because this is how high can she go? Again, all in Labour's circus of despair, but this is a classic. I'm absolutely going to embarrass myself so terribly here, Nana. Okay, let's give it a go. It's counting up in billions. How many billions can I get? Right. Hey! Oh, wow, I'm pretty happy with that one. I think that got, as far as I could see, let the camera record it, let the camera take note, that got up to £19 billion, so almost enough to fill the £30 to £50 billion black hole that economists predict Rachel Reeves will have to contend with in her budget next month.
Loving that. Thank you very much, Tom Harwood. The circus of despair at the Tory Party conference. Brilliant stuff. That's Tom Harwood. Right, it's time now for the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to win a brand new four-berth motorhome worth £74,000 plus £30,000 of tax-free cash. Here are the details.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people, comes with integrated bathroom and kitchen areas, has plenty of storage and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like, taking the total prize value of this Great British Giveaway over a whopping £104,000. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Blinds close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. At least the Conservatives have still got their sense of humour. That's a good thing, isn't it? What's still to come? Stay tuned. This is GB News. I'm Nana Akua. In the interview, legendary stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson will join me in the studio very soon. You will not want to miss that. Next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour, and I'm asking, could defecting Tories ruin Reform UK? This is GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Are you panicking when you're in Northern Ireland when you go out and about because there is a lack of chargers?
Well, listen, I'm really pro-EV, and we've had the odd issue with broken EV chargers, particularly yesterday at both Ballymoney at Beasties and also over at Dunsilley. We had issues with chargers, but the charging infrastructure is used very rarely. My mother, for example, she has overnight charging at home. She's never used a public charger, and she's had the car for 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you've got that domestic overnight charging, it's cheap. It's very affordable if you buy a 2-year-old EV, and they are absolutely the way forward. I'm a Yorkshireman. I don't like parting with my brass. I want to get cheap motoring, and for less than a penny a mile and a car for less than 20 grand to start with, you know, it sounds a bit blasé saying £20,000, but relative to what these cars are new, they're incredible value for money. And we're seeing mass adoption. There's a garage in Richmond in North Yorkshire that sells more than half of the cars they sell are electric vehicles, and that's in a rural Dales area. So it's about having that domestic overnight charging and not having to rely on public infrastructure.
Danny, where it doesn't convince me at all is, right, so I'm living in London and I want to go to see Manchester United, and I might get there, but am I going to get back down again? Or worse still, if I'm not on full charge, I'm going to miss kickoff because I'm going to have to rely on a public charger somewhere. So is that the sort of anxiety? I mean, you were talking about range anxiety there, Ellie. Is that the sort of anxiety people have? I mean, I genuinely have that. Despite what we were hearing there from Fraser.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's #1 news channel for the third month in a row. I'm Nana Akua, 24 minutes after 4 o'clock. It's time now for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, could defecting Tories ruin Reform UK? Yesterday, I was joined by former Defence Minister Sarah Atherton, who was the latest in a long line of Tories to defect to Reform UK. However, do Reform need to be careful? Are they running the risk of becoming a Tory tribute band with all these defections? I wonder who's next. So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, could defecting Tories ruin Reform UK? Well, joining me now, political commentator Aman Bogle, and also political commentator... Oh, that's Andy Williams. That's all right, you got confused.
Hello.
And also...
Hello,
Aman. That's all right. I'll start with you, Andy Williams.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know whether you care, but...
No, I do care. I think it's really interesting. I do think Reform have to be a little bit careful about this. Of course, for a cheap headline and for something that's going to make people sit up and go, oh, now he's defected, now she's defected, I get why they're doing this, and I think they've been smart about spreading them out so it feels like there's just a drip, drip, drip of Tories who, some of whom are quite well known, some of whom nobody in the real world has heard of, are going over. But I do think they need to be careful, because when you start having a party that includes Nadine Dorries and Danny Kruger and Jake Berry, and we believe from tomorrow Andrew Rosendale, who it looks like is going to be the next person to defect, these people believe completely different things.
Well,
so
Nadine Dorries maybe, but I think Andrew Rosendale is definitely... The thing is, the Conservatives are not conservative, and these people are kind of true Tories. I don't know about Nadine Dorries. She's got a bit of a liberal side to her that I don't know whether I'd be...
Well, and by the way, on Nadine Dorries, I think I was going to say with all due respect, but I'm not even going to say that. I think she's a bit of a joke. And I do think someone like Nadine Dorries, who was Boris Johnson's biggest supporter, and for Nigel Farage to at once say Boris Johnson was a disaster, Boris wave, la la la, like Nadine Dorries supported every single thing Boris Johnson did, partly because she wanted to go into the House of Lords. That's not credible. So I think they have to be a little bit selective about who they're allowing in.
Well, I mean, Nadine's not here to defend herself, so calling her
she's not,
joke
but
is not very
okay,
nice,
well, there we
but,
go.
You know, she could be. Aman.
Well, look, I think this boils down to three things, Nana: family, community and country.
And I think a lot of people who want to join reform, well, believe in those three fundamental things about the UK. We've had so far, 16 big-name defections from the Conservative Party to reform. But as Danny Kruger said the other day, Britain is inherently a conservative country, and B, more importantly, the flame of conservatism is burning bright in reform. And if you look at reform memberships, I think about 2/3 of them are quite happy to welcome in proper conservatives into reform who have the experience of having either run a department or been there long enough to know where the actual levers of power are in Whitehall. But more importantly, I think it's also about giving reform a much broader base of being able to attract not just the natural reform voter base, but also a little bit more of the natural conservative voter base if they wish to form the next government.
It seems, though, that their policies are quite... I think they also have a working class edge because they're talking about the man on the street, they're talking about nationalising industries. I think what they may be doing quite well and effectively is taking the best bits out of both the right and the left and somehow landing as a central party reform.
Well, I see what you mean, and they are being very selective about some very left-wing policies like let's nationalise everything, and then likewise taking policies. But the problem with that is it's not a coherent narrative. It's populism in its purest and I think worst form. It's cherry-picking things that are popular without actually thinking about how all of them fit together. And the result is that reform's policies add up to an enormous black hole. The numbers don't add up.
On the contrary, it's very easy to label reform as, there's some sort of, fringe populist idea. Actually, when the reality is they are realists, they are nation-first politics. That's what this is.
But, the problem...
This is not just about nationalising, this is about strategic national assets.
And I think there are certain areas where you could and should do that, but the problem is they are cherry-picking policies based on the fact that they're popular, and when you add them up together, it's not coherent. It doesn't work. I mean, it literally doesn't work. So I'll give you a great example. I've mentioned this one before. Wouldn't it be lovely if we could take everybody out of tax on the first £20,000 they earn? Brilliant. Nobody could disagree with that, apart from the fact they've not explained how on earth they're going to pay for that. Nationalisation is expensive. Scrapping inheritance tax is expensive. So many of these policies cost money.
One of them that they explained was net zero. So there's a few things...
But it's not clear
that... They also put forward a policy by which, in terms of using the economies of scale of council money to get better deals with fund managers who, where they're investing things in different things. So changing the kind of structure and getting a better deal when they're investing council money. And they realised that they were overpaying these fund managers, and they're discussing that. So
even if that worked, that's efficiency. That's not going to save hundreds of billions of pounds.
It will. Right now, Nana, we have seen that Labour have blown up that alleged 20 billion black hole to 50 billion in just 1 year. Labour isn't working. I mean, show me one socialist country anywhere in the world that has worked. What has worked is what we've seen in Argentina with Milei, what we've seen with Modinomics.
Too early to say.
It's not too early to say.
It is on Argentina, it definitely is.
Why is it too early?
OK, well, let's go to Modinomics. He's now got the 4th biggest economy in the world, the fastest growing economy in the world. And you know what? The first thing he did in the last Indian budget, he took out literally 80% of Indian taxpayers out of paying income tax, the equivalent of a £40,000 net income in the UK.
Yeah, but the difference it's doable in India because India is an enormously fast-growing economy with a population of 1.2, 1.3 billion. Yeah.
It's definitely doable here, and that's exactly what this trust was trying to do with supply-side reforms. It has to be growth, growth, growth. Nothing else will work.
Well, it has to be growth, growth, growth. Nothing else will work. We'd like to see some growth here. In this country right now, if the Labour Party are listening, could you perhaps do something that would grow the economy rather than things that would shrink it, like the NI hike, which was utter madness? And even many years ago, Rachel Reeves said it would do exactly what it's done, and it's done it. And all the other stuff, farmers' inheritance tax, taxing, not even sorting out the welfare properly. Honestly, really, I don't know. Well, listen, 31 minutes after 4 o'clock. If you just tuned in, welcome. This is GB News, Britain's news channel. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. Still to come, my big interview. Legendary stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson and his fiancée will join me in the studio very soon. You won't want to miss that. But next, it's time for the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, should Sir Keir Starmer apologise over the Nigel Farage racism row? But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Bethany Elsey.
Good afternoon. The top stories from the GB newsroom. Kemi Badenoch has announced she will take Britain out of the European Court of Human Rights if the Conservative Party wins the next election, saying it's the only way to secure Britain's borders. The Conservative leader is also pledging to deport 150,000 illegal migrants per year with a US-style removal force. Police are to be given greater powers to clamp down on large-scale repeat protests. It comes just a day after almost 500 people were arrested at a pro-Palestine demonstration in central London. And Israel and the US are sending chief negotiators to Egypt to meet with Hamas and negotiate the release of all remaining hostages in Gaza. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Amy brought plenty of disruption on Saturday, but the rest of today is turning a little more settled. Those winds continue to ease as we go through the rest of the day. That's all thanks to high pressure developing down towards the south, helping space those isobars apart a little more through Sunday afternoon, though perhaps still a little breezy across the very far north, and still perhaps a little cloudier here too. Outbreaks of rain still feeding in from the west, turning perhaps a little heavier and very persistent at times. Plenty of cloud around to end the day across the northern half of the country, but further south turning a little drier overnight. Plenty of clear spells developing, and under those clear spells perhaps the odd patch of mist and fog in places, maybe temperatures here dropping down into the mid-single figures, so perhaps a little bit of a chillier start to the day here. But further north, where we do hold on to that cloud and rain, it'll be a bit of a mild start to the new working week, and quite a damp start too across northern and western parts of Scotland. Mostly light, persistent rain feeding in from the west, that continuing throughout much of Monday morning, but staying a little dry across eastern parts of Scotland. A cloudier start to the day across much of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some low cloud, mist and murk over the hills. But for much of southern central parts of England, much of Wales too, it'll be a dry and bright start to the day on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we do see should clear relatively quickly. And that sets us up through much of the day on Monday. That north-south split continues across the country. The south holding on to the best of any sunshine, perhaps some quite prolonged sunshine here, but the north always holding on to that little bit more cloud. Outbreaks of persistent rain feeding in across western parts of Scotland. Temperatures will be up on Monday compared to Sunday, well above average for the time of year, particularly across the south and the east, 20, 21 degrees, and even eastern parts of Scotland could see temperatures into the low 20s. But that north-south split continues as we go throughout Monday evening. The north always holding on to the worst of any conditions in terms of rainfall, and that continues as we go into Tuesday too, but turning a little drier and more settled for most of us by the end of the week, and temperatures staying around average for the time of year.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News, live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's fast approaching 37 minutes after 4 o'clock, and it's time now for the Great British Debate, the second one of the hour. And I'm asking, should Sir Keir Starmer apologise over the Nigel Farage racism row? Let's remind ourselves of some of the comments made.
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public.
Well, of course, that wasn't true. David Lammy apologised for saying it, but why say it? Even saying it, where was his head when he thought he should say that? He backtracked, and given that Nigel Farage wasn't actually alive then when Hitler Youth were active, I mean, don't Labour need to be a little bit more aware that being sanctimonious hardly ever works for them at all? So for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should Sir Keir Starmer apologise over the Nigel Farage racism row? Well, joining me now, political commentator Aman Bogle, and also political commentator Andy Williams. Aman, I will start with you.
Well, wasn't this really the Hillary Clinton moment for the Labour Party when she called them, you know, a Republican voters' basket of deplorables? But don't forget, you know, what's his name, David Lammy, he's got form for this. You know, back in the whole Brexit debate, I remember him equating Brexiteers with the Nazis. So he's got a long form for deploring people who don't disagree, you know, agree with him.
Well, he did this the other day. I mean, this is another recent one. Have a listen to this.
He must call his scheme to round up and deport our French, our Indian, our Caribbean neighbours who already have indefinite leave to remain what it is. It is racist. I say not in our country, not in our name, not in our time.
You see, it's stuff like that, stoking up the fire. There was very little difference between what the Labour Party were proposing and what the Reform UK were proposing.
Well, indeed, I think on the Sunday, Starmer was calling reforms, ILR reforms, racist. And on the Monday morning, Shabana Mahmood had announced the same thing. So, look, this is about incoherence, not just in terms of political ideology, but also of not wanting to talk about what they want to do, but also labelling millions of people who resonate with what Reform have to say about rescuing Britain from the depredation of socialism and what it's brought to us. He should be apologising to the British public.
Well, the other thing is, when you say, you know, racism ends usually in a violent and not nice manner when people take it to the nth degree. So by labelling something as racist without real... Andy, did you think that Reform UK's immigration strategy and their policy was racist?
I hate the strategy. I think it's shocking. I think it's appalling. I think it's un-British. And I'll explain why, but I wouldn't have called it racist. I wouldn't have used that language. I think we do have to be clear that Keir Starmer was talking about a policy being racist. He didn't call Nigel Farage a racist, and he didn't call Reform... He did not. No, he didn't. He didn't, and he did not call Reform voters racist. As just briefly on David Lammy, I mean... idiotic thing to say. You made exactly the point, Nana. You know, the Nazi, Nigel Farage was born 20 years after the Nazis were in power. It's a ridiculous thing to say. I don't think Nigel Farage is a racist, but I really, really do not like this policy that would remove indefinite leave to remain for people who have been here in some cases for decades. And that draws no distinction between people who have assimilated and who've contributed and who pay their tax and who speak English and who do all of these things, all of the things that they say, that Reform say people are not doing, people who've done all of those things...
But that's not what Reform are saying.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not. Reform are saying, if you're here on ILR and you're claiming benefits, you're not welcome here. If you're working here, you're welcome to apply either for citizenship or for a 5-year visa, which is renewable. What's wrong with that? Why are you in favour of British citizens paying for those who have no right to be here claiming benefits?
Well, firstly, they do have a right to be here because they have indefinite leave to remain.
Yes, so, it's not permanent leave to remain, it's indefinite leave to remain. There's a big difference.
Yeah, but the situation now
is that once you... Do you think it's right for them to be claiming benefits on the back of the hard-working British taxpayer?
What if you're a hard-working person who's been working here for 30 years, you fall on hard times, you then have to start claiming benefits? Are we saying, tough, sorry, you've had a few difficult years, off you go?
No,
I don't think that's acceptable.
They're eligible to apply for British citizenship. Why wouldn't they apply for that if they're so here to integrate and be British. Why wouldn't they apply for
Because I don't believe that under a Reform government, those people would be given British citizenship.
Why not?
And that is because it's not what they're saying, but it's very clearly...
So you can't just make up...
I'm not making anything up. That is the very clear implication. Now, I don't agree... It is. I don't agree with Labour's policy on extending indefinite leave to remain from 5 to 10 years either. I think 5 years is fine. I think that's plenty.
So basically what you're saying is, you know what, be here for 5 years, and as soon as your 5 years are over, you'll be eligible to claim benefits, housing benefit, all the rest of it that goes with it, on the backs of the hard-working British taxpayer, even though you haven't paid anything into the system whatsoever.
But during those 5 years, you have to be working, you have to be contributing, you have to be meeting a standard. And I think that is perfectly acceptable. If you've met that standard for 5 years, I think that's fine.
Minimum wage is enough for a lifetime of benefits for however.
But now we're talking about something different, which is...
Not.
Yes, we are. Yeah, we are.
Because 1 million foreign citizens in the UK are on benefits. The monthly cost is about £1 billion.
And that's not fair. These people on indefinite leave to remain.
Quite probably, yes.
But this is where you need an immigration policy that allows people into the country who are highly skilled, who are high earners, and who we need.
We're getting
that is what I think. Absolutely. And that is where the system has gone wrong.
That doesn't mean we allow 1 million people into the UK every year. It doesn't mean we need Leeds every year. It means the brightest and the best. And that's what certainly hasn't happened in the last 5 years, even the last 30 years.
Yes, so we agree on that. But what I'm saying is that people who are already here, we should not retrospectively, reassess their right to be here. Because that's just deeply unfair.
Leave to remain, and they're on benefits, then they're not contributing. They're actually taking. So if you,
there are lots of people.
But if you came to this country and you've been indefinite leave to remain, and you kept going on and on, and you've done that for 15 years, at some point you should have tried to go for citizenship. There'll be rules and reasons as to what.
It's what every other country does.
That's what everyone. There will be stipulations. So you'll need to be earning this, doing that, speaking English, blah 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 blah, and you can be a citizen. If, however, you're on indefinite leave to remain and you are claiming benefits, any other country would say, well, you're not working, you're not contributing, out. That's not racist. It doesn't matter what colour you are.
I'm not saying it's racist. I just don't happen to. I don't happen to agree with it.
Apologise for calling that racist. You didn't think it was racist.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I think that Starmer should have to apologise. I don't agree. That is Keir Starmer's point of view.
But you don't agree. But it's the same. Your point of view that it's not racist, and it's my point of view it's not racist, and it's Amon's point of view.
I don't think. Yeah, but that doesn't mean
Keir Starmer apologise for saying something's racist that most of us don't think is racist.
Well, you say most of us. I mean, we actually don't know what most of the... Here, yeah, fine. I don't think he should, because that's his sincerely held point of view. And I know for a fact it's his sincerely held point of view, because he wasn't planning to go on Laura Kuenssberg's show and say that on Sunday. He said it, asked a question reflexively. That's what he believes. Now, the British... very briefly, the British public can make up their mind about whether or not they think that's acceptable.
They will, and indeed at the ballot box, and we can see exactly where they're heading with Labour's polling taxing. But you know what? He went to see that woman in that a Labour Party political broadcast saying, I'm going to meet this ordinary working woman who ended up calling racist to her face.
Well, we don't know that at all.
Well, that's what that woman has come...
There's no evidence whatsoever.
To verify that.
There's no evidence.
It's his Gordon Brown bigot woman.
Absolutely. That was on mic. This is a lie by someone. This is a complete lie.
We'll see if there's any evidence to suggest it. So far, there is no evidence to suggest that is true.
Exactly.
But you never know. We'll find out in the next coming days or months, and that person may need to apologise if they've made it up. But coming up next, it's World View, where we'll cross live to the United States and speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Budridge, to discuss Donald Trump's chances of a Nobel Peace Prize. First, though, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's been very unsettled across parts of the eastern Mediterranean, and it will stay pretty wet across Greece and parts of the Balkans through the next few days. But Iberia, the Canary Islands and also Madeira having plenty of fine weather through the day on Monday. 1 or 2 showers for eastern Spain, but lots of fine sunny conditions across Italy too. We'll run into those thunderstorms and heavy spells of rain there across Greece, some stronger winds as well. And as we go towards Tuesday in the middle part of the week, that unsettled weather will push in towards Turkey as well, so potentially some flooding here.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duper, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
only on GB News.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Oh, good afternoon. Right, let's spin over to America. It's just coming up to 11 minutes to 5 o'clock and speak to the host of the Politics People podcast, Paul Duddridge, and get the latest stateside. Paul, welcome. Donald Trump, has he achieved peace? Maybe, yes? All good?
It's looking very promising in the Middle East at the moment. It's all minute-by-minute developments, but it is looking really promising. He's come the nearest, bearing in mind that this Hamas action in Israel happened under Biden's watch. Trump is doing really well by the look of it. I think I was surprised, everybody was surprised that there seemed to be positive noises coming out of Hamas this week. So it's looking good. It's looking good, and fingers crossed that we're going to get the hostages back. Whether it's going to be enough for the Nobel Peace Prize Committee is another matter. It's probably still not going to be enough for them. And the word is that it's because of his stance on. So he claims to have ended like 7 conflicts this year, and he can make a lot of reasonable points to back up that claim. You know, you've got things like there was stuff that aren't in the news every day, but the Rwanda, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Thailand, Cambodia, Israel, Iran. He's definitely brought peace to a lot of those conflicts, but apparently the sticking point with the Nobel Peace Prize Committee is climate change. Because of his stance on climate change, they consider climate change to be one of the biggest factors in peace. In fact, in 2007, remember, they gave the Nobel Peace Prize to Al Gore and the IPCC because of their position on climate change. So that's how he might be scuppered. As he said this week, Trump said this week in when he addressed the 800 military leaders there with Hegseth, he said that they're going to give it to some damn guy who's not done anything. And so that's probably what's going to happen. But it will be a travesty if Trump doesn't win the Nobel Peace Prize, even for his efforts alone, especially when you consider some of the... They gave it to Obama because he showed up.
Yeah, I don't know whether Obama deserved it, though, but I guess he was the first sort of black president of the United States, so I guess for that effort, I give him that for that, but he doesn't vote for himself, people voted for him. So, again, I think it's quite an achievement, really, from a country that was, at one point, very racist. What about this one, that Trump was going to have his face on a coin?
Yeah,
right?
OK, so... Yeah, there's because it's the 250th anniversary of independence next year. It's going to be a massive celebration next year in the United States, 1776 to 2026. So they're minting a new $1 coin, and the rule is usually that a sitting president has to be out of office or dead for 2 years before they can have their face on the money. I think they're ignoring that. They've minted this coin, and this is not like some novelty collection thing. This is not some kind of, you know, back of a magazine collectible item. This is currency. The dollar coin looks like, it's like I said. You can go and Google it. You can find that the design is Trump's face.
They've got his quiff as well. Is it from the side or from the front? It's from the side.
One from the side. It's what the guy is just, but it's just like, oh, that's the rule. Yeah, we ain't doing that anymore. So, at the 250th anniversary of the United States, a newly minted $1 coin will have Trump's face on it, even though the rule is, yeah, you can't really do that. It's hilarious. But yes, it's happening.
Good for him. Right, what about the Illinois governor, though, who's called for Trump to be removed from office, and he's using the 25th Amendment? Really? That's not going to happen, is it?
No. This is Governor Pritzker in Illinois because Chicago is a mess, basically. It's a war zone. And Trump has talked about, let's send the army in and test that, just practice war zones in places like Chicago. They want to say they're sending the National Guard in to try and actually protect law-abiding Chicagoans, okay? But the governor resists that. But Trump is using this shutdown, by the way, hilariously, because none of the normal bureaucrats have any power at the moment because they voted themselves out of power. It's the maddest thing. So Trump is just throwing all these kind of, we'll send the National Guard there. So, anyway, so Pritzker now, who's the governor of Illinois, hates the fact that Trump is intervening and trying to protect people in Chicago and doing his job for him. And so he is calling to invoke the 25th Amendment that would remove Trump from office because he's unfit.
It's not going to work, is it, Paul Dudridge? Always a pleasure. Thank you very much. That's Paul Dudridge, host of the Politics People podcast. Stay with me. Still to come in the interview, legendary stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson and his fiancée will join me in the studio very soon. You won't want to miss that. But first, let's get an update with your all-important weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Amy brought plenty of disruption on Saturday, but the rest of today is turning a little more settled. Those winds continue to ease as we go through the rest of the day. That's all thanks to high pressure developing down towards the south, helping space those isobars apart a little more through Sunday afternoon, though perhaps still a little breezy across the very far north, and still perhaps a little cloudier here too. Outbreaks of rain still feeding in from the west, turning perhaps a little heavier and very persistent at times. Plenty of cloud around to end the day across the northern half of the country, but further south turning a little drier overnight. Plenty of clear spells developing, and under those clear spells perhaps the odd patch of mist and fog in places, maybe temperatures here dropping down into the mid-single figures, so perhaps a little bit of a chillier start to the day here. But further north, where we do hold on to that cloud and rain, it'll be a bit of a mild start to the new working week, and quite a damp start too across northern and western parts of Scotland. Mostly light, persistent rain feeding in from the west, that continuing throughout much of Monday morning, but staying a little drier across eastern parts of Scotland. A cloudier start to the day across much of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some low cloud, mist and murk over the hills. But for much of southern central parts of England, much of Wales too, it will be a dry and bright start to the day on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we do see should clear relatively quickly. And that sets us up through much of the day on Monday. That north-south split continues across the country. The south holding on to the best of any sunshine, perhaps some quite prolonged sunshine here, but the north always holding on to that little bit more cloud. Outbreaks of persistent rain feeding in across western parts of Scotland. Temperatures will be up on Monday compared to Sunday, well above average for the time of year, particularly across the south and the east, 20, 21 degrees, and even eastern parts of Scotland could see temperatures into the low 20s. But that north-south split continues as we go throughout Monday evening. The north always holding on to the worst of any conditions in terms of rainfall, and that continues as we go into Tuesday too, but turning a little drier and more settled for most of us by the end of the week, and temperatures staying around average for the time of year.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Badenoch Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akua, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, though. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. It's 5 o'clock and for the next hour, me and my panel will be taking on some of the big topics hitting the headlines right now. This show is all about opinion. It's mine, it's theirs and of course it's yours. We'll be debating, discussing and at times we will disagree, but no one will be cancelled. So joining me for the next hour, political commentator Aman Bogle, and also political commentator Andy Williams. So So coming up in the Great British Debate, I've been asking, do you trust the Tories on immigration? After Kemi Badenoch had pledged to deport 150,000 migrants a year and to leave the ECHR. But, of course, they had the opportunity to do it when they're in government and they didn't. My poll is live on gbnews.com. Cast your vote. Then, coming up in the interview, joining me in the studio, stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson and his fiancée to discuss his life and career and, of course, his new YouTube channel, the streaming service that features exclusive stand-up shows and in-depth interviews. You won't want to miss that. Also coming up on the show, we'll be continuing the debate on this.
Well, I do think that it's a racist policy. I do think it's immoral. It needs to be called out for what it is.
I will leave it for the public to come to their own judgments about someone who once flirted with Hitler Youth when he was younger. That is for the public.
Oh dear, David. Should Prime Minister Keir Starmer apologise over the Nigel Farage racism row? Of course, David Lammy did apologise or retract his comments there. Critics say it sparked lots of other frontbenchers to be saying similar things. Should it be acceptable? And, of course, in case you missed my niggle, where I discussed why I believe it's all over for the Conservatives, you can check that out on gbnews.com, YouTube and on our social media channels. But before we get started, let's get your latest news with Bethany Elsey.
Good evening, I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories from the GB Newsroom. Kemi Badenoch has announced she will take Britain out of the European Court of Human Rights if the Conservative Party wins the next election. She also set out plans to deport 150,000 illegal migrants a year. A so-called removals force, modelled on the US Immigration and Customs Agency, will be funded by closing asylum hotels. In her keynote speech at the party conference, she branded Labour and Reform UK as two sides of the same coin, and was adamant the Tories are the only party who can secure Britain's borders.
But I reject the politics that everything must go, that everything must be torn down, that everything is broken. But if we leave it to Labour or Reform, Britain will be divided. Only the Conservatives can bring this country back together. This is a battle we must win. By combining secure borders with a shared culture, strong values, and the confidence of a great nation, we can win the debate and win the next election.
Meanwhile, a donor and personal advisor to the Conservative leader has defected to Reform UK. Mark Gallagher reportedly donated £2,000 to Kemi Badenoch last October, just weeks before she was chosen to succeed Rishi Sunak. Police are to be given greater powers to restrict repeat protests. It comes just a day after almost 500 people were arrested at a pro-Palestine demonstration in central London. The majority were detained on suspicion of supporting the banned group Palestine Action. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, says these frequent large-scale protests have caused considerable fear to the Jewish community. People have gathered in Manchester to commemorate those who were killed in Thursday's terror attack on a synagogue. The funeral of one of the men who died, Melvin Kravitz, was held this morning, and the details of Adrian Dorby's funeral are to be announced soon. 3 men remain in hospital. One of them is in a critical condition, but the 2 others are now stable. 2 people who were arrested on suspicion of preparing terrorist acts have been released. Counter-terrorism police, though, have been granted extra time to question 4 others. Police are treating a suspected arson attack at a mosque in East Sussex as a hate crime. It's reported the fire brigade put out a large blaze in front of the mosque in Peacehaven late last night. Police said no one was harmed. Several local authorities, including the Labour MP for the area, Chris Ward, have condemned the incident as deeply distressing. Israel's Prime Minister says he hopes to announce the release of all remaining hostages held in Gaza within the coming days. Benjamin Netanyahu says it's the military and diplomatic pressure of Israel and the US which has forced Hamas to agree to some of Donald Trump's peace plan. However, sticking points over the group's disarmament remain. Israel is sending negotiators to Egypt for indirect talks with the group tomorrow. They'll be joined by senior US envoys and Arab mediators. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in an hour's time.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Good afternoon. If you just tuned in, where have you been? Well, OK, you're in the last hour at least, but remember, it's 3 o'clock on Saturdays and Sundays. Be there or be square. I'm Nana Akua. We are Britain's #1 news channel, especially over the last 3 months. But coming up, we'll be live at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester as the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch pledges to deport 150,000 migrants a year and to leave the ECHR. But can they really be trusted on immigration given their record? My poll is up. GBNews.com. Please cast your vote. The poll will be closing in about 20 minutes. Then in the interview, joining me in the studio, stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson and his fiancée Natasha to discuss his life and career and, of course, his new streaming service that features exclusive stand-up shows and in-depth interviews. You won't want to miss that. That is coming up shortly. Stay tuned for that. Then, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should the police have more powers to restrict protests as the Home Secretary announces new powers for forces to a day after nearly 500, it's not actually that many, thank goodness, protesters were arrested at the pro-Palestine protest yesterday. We'll be discussing that. As ever, send me your thoughts, post your comments, gbnews.com/your say. So it is Conservative Party conference time. It's underway and Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch kicked things off with her opening speech, which included a pledge to leave the ECHR.
We must leave the ECHR and repeal the Human Rights Act. But this is the only way to end spurious legal claims from immigrants with dubious stories and excuses. This is the only way to allow a British government, the next Conservative government, to deliver a British borders plan in full.
Well, it's a shame they didn't come up with that when they were actually in power. Kemi Badenoch also slammed Labour and Reform as two sides of the same coin and claimed that the Tories have learnt from their mistakes. Let's hope so. But let's cross live now to the Conservative Party conference in Liverpool and speak with GB News political editor Christopher Hope, who is there to tell us more. Christopher.
Nana, great to see you again. What a great question. Let me put your question to Andrew Bowie, who's the Shadow Scotland Secretary. Nana Akua asked correctly on GB News just now, why on earth didn't you come up with this plan to deal with the issue of ECHR, deal for once with the issue of illegal arrived migrants when you had 14 years in power?
Well, look, I mean, this sort of thing takes time. As Kemi said today, we are under new leadership and we acknowledge that we got some things wrong and we didn't.
That's a big thing to get wrong, though.
Well, we didn't take action to deal with the boats in the way that we should. We did try with the Rwanda scheme. It was stymied by activist lawyers and judges and the Labour Party who had this plan to smash the gangs that has only served to see more people come into the country. So one of the first things that Kemi has done is commissioned David Wilson to compile this hefty piece of work, this legally, this very thorough legal document giving advice, which has determined that the only way that we can deal with this, secure our borders, and indeed deal with the many other issues that we have in this country, is indeed to leave the ECHR, and that's what we will do if we return to government.
Hasn't that ship sailed? I mean, the Good Ship Reform decided this a few months ago. They're off over the horizon doing other things. You're catching up with them.
But what we have done, and you can see there, it's a hefty piece of work. It's very thorough. It's been compiled by David Wilson, an eminent KC, who's run through the many tricky questions that will arise as a result of our determination to leave the ECHR. That's something that Reform have not done. We are not in the business of making policy, then working out how to enact it. We are going to do the hard graft of detailed policy work and then determine what the policy is. That's what Kemi said she would do when she first became leader. That's what she is doing, and I think people should be relieved, and actually I think they will be when they read this, whatever side of the debate they come from, to see that we have done the hard graft of, the work necessary to answer those difficult questions that will come up.
Do you agree with it?
Of course I agree with that. I think it's absolutely essential.
Why, of course, because not everyone does in your party. Some don't think we should be leaving the ECHR.
You know what, frankly, Chris, if you'd asked me this time maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, I may not have. But the fact is, what we have seen under this government, and indeed previous to that under ourselves, has been an inability for British legislators, British members of Parliament, in our sovereign Parliament, in government, elected and accountable to the British people, an inability for them to actually deliver on their manifesto commitment. Stymied by, as I said, activist lawyers, by judges in the Supreme Court,
so
all
why
referring
should
to...
voters and listeners and GB News viewers and listeners trust you to do that, as you're admitting there that in the past attempts to deal with these problems have been stymied by lawyers?
We didn't have this advice. This wasn't
so this
our
body
position.
of work means we can trust you to deliver on
I think if you read David Wilson's full, and people out there are more than welcome to read it, full report, the advice that he's been commissioned to give to the leader of the Conservative Party on the situation we'll find ourselves in and the difficult questions that will arise as a result of this decision, they will see that we are serious about this in a way that reform are not. We are serious about our commitment to leave the ECHR.
Why do you need a lawyer to tell you what others think they know anyway, like Nigel Farage?
Because, look, Nigel Farage says he wants to leave the ECHR. He hasn't got the first clue about how he would do it, the implications of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement, the implications of the other devolved settlements, for example, the Scotland Act 1998, all of which is examined in great detail in this body of work.
Just turning to Scotland, the bigger elections in May this year, will this damage you, saying ECHR withdrawal in Scotland?
No, I don't think so. If you look at the social attitude survey, you see that people in Scotland are just as concerned about the higher levels of illegal immigration to the United Kingdom as voters around the rest.
I thought they're more open to migrants in Scotland.
Country.
That's the falling population.
What the Scottish National Party might have you believe, but people in Scotland are just as concerned with the unfairness and the iniquity of seeing people coming into this country illegally, being subsidised by hard-working people in Scotland as well as around the rest of the country, and they want to see something done about it. And we have determined that the only way we can take credible action is to leave the ECHR.
And you may lose votes to the Lib Dems. The Lib Dem adjacent voters might think, well, this isn't for me. I'm quite pro the ECHR.
Yeah, well, I think that if they read this advice, if they read the policy, they will. I mean, we had the idea that we didn't have human rights in this country until Tony Blair brought in the Human Rights Act in 1998 and enshrined the ECHR into British law. That's a nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, we've been very proud. This is the country of Magna Carta to have embodied instinctively the right of free speech, of association, of political. We will always have that in this country. We had it before 1998, and we'll have it after we leave the ECHR.
And just very finally, on ID cards, you mentioned Magna Carta. Are you against ID cards?
Very much so. Yeah. In fact, one of the first campaigns that I got involved in with David Cameron was against the ID card proposal that Tony Blair wanted to bring in. So,
and Keir Starmer's one's the digital ID, no good.
It's nonsense.
Okay. Andrew Barrow, thank you for joining us. Andrew Barrow there, Nana, making clear that this party will deliver, according to him, on stopping the votes by leaving the ECHR.
All right, thank you very much, Christopher Hope. Thank you for asking that question as well. Right, let's speak to the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation, Dr. Krish Kandiah. Krish, welcome to the programme. So that's the Conservatives. They're saying they want to leave the ECHR. Some legislation that was initially drafted with the British. We were the people who created that. What implications does that have? Do you think they're on the right track?
Good afternoon, Nana. Always a pleasure to see you. I think they're on the completely wrong track. I think it's both unpatriotic and not conservative either. It was Winston Churchill that championed the ECHR way back in the 1940s. He said, in the centre of our movement stands the idea of a charter of human rights guarded by freedom and sustained by law. And the Conservative Party is normally about conserving good things, preserving things that are good from our history. They're ditching it, I think, because they want to make inroads on that reform vote. The only people to have left the ECHR is Russia, and we chucked them out because of their invasion of Ukraine. We seem to be moving towards more authoritarian styles of government. One of the things the Conservatives wanted to put forward...
So, Chris, sorry, very briefly. So should we have kept Russia in then, after their invasion of Ukraine?
No, we definitely shouldn't. But
so that was the right thing to do?
We'll be in the company of Russia as the only European nation that isn't part of the ECHR. Do we really want to keep company with Russia because we don't like human rights in our country? That's a crazy idea.
We'll also be in the company of the United States.
Well, they're
Australia.
not in Europe, so of course they're not part of the ECHR.
Okay. But there's a bigger world than just Europe, okay? So let's look at the globe, as it were. United States aren't in the ECHR. You don't see them doing anything really bad with human rights. They have a constitution that they follow, and they're quite litigious with it. You have, I don't think Australia, I don't think they're in the ECHR. There are plenty of great, well-governed countries that are not in the ECHR. Why should we always be, oh, well, let's make a comparison with Europe, who are, let's be honest, they're an economically failing bloc at the moment, and they can do what they do, we can do what we do. Why do we have to do what they're doing just because we are part of a Europe, as it were? What's that got to do with anything?
OK, it's the European Convention on Human Rights. That's why we're talking about Europe. But
America
Yeah, I know
is
that,
also doing some pretty terrible things with human rights, aren't they?
No, you made a comparison with Russia, saying that we'll be in bed with people like Russia who aren't part of the ECHR, right? And I'm saying, well, we'll also be in bed with America and other countries who are perfectly well-meaning, who are not in it. So I'm just saying that, so what?
Well, it's interesting you mention America and human rights. Kemi Badenoch talked about having ICE teams, very similar to the US-style paramilitary groups that have been on the streets of America. They've been criticised for breaking human rights, separating children from their families. One report says 52 people have died in detention since ICE has been in operation. Again, why would we steal or copy and paste from America with its authoritarian Donald Trump-style government and want some of that here?
Well, because...
want to do that at a time when we don't have a convention on human rights?
Well, because it's working, isn't it? He's managed to get migration down to pretty much zero, is what Donald Trump is saying. Nobody's really said that he's not telling the truth. You'd think the Democrats would be on it if he was actually making it up. They're not on it. And so there must be an element of truth. It's probably not exactly zero, but it's pretty close. So he has stopped. He's literally stopped mass migration. He's gone in there and looked for people who are here who are there illegally. Now, I don't know the exact methods they're using. I don't think people should die in custody. So I don't know what the numbers are. Maybe look into that, and we can be a little bit more humane. But it's not inhumane to get people out of the country if they've arrived illegally and they're working illegally and their family are all there illegally. That's not wrong. They're wrong. They're in the wrong.
I think we're in a race to the bottom, or a race towards authoritarianism at the moment. And I'm fearful that in the middle of all this, we're losing our sense of humanity. Look, I believe it's possible to have compassion and control when it comes to our border. But if we only go for control without compassion, then that becomes cruelty pretty quickly. And that's what I'm seeing in ICE in America. And I really don't want that same approach here. We're a very kind and generous nation. I've seen it happen with Ukraine. I've seen it happen with Afghanistan. Why would we build a system that is based on cruelty rather than on compassion?
I think we're basing a system based on something that actually works. And as for we're too kind, we're too generous, and to our detriment in the end. And we need to be looking out for the people who are in this country, who are here legally, working legally, contributing legally, and to the citizens of this country. And that is the government's duty number one. Thank you very much, Dr. Krish Kandiar. Really good to talk to you. He's the founder of the Sanctuary Foundation. But now it's time for the Great British Giveaway, your chance to win over £104,000 worth of goodies. Here are the details.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck indeed. Next, though, my big interview. I promised you legendary stand-up comedian and actor Jim Davidson and his fiancée Natasha. They'll be live in the studio next. Do not go anywhere. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
The cost of parking. It's increased by, wait for it, 500%.
And they've done that overnight without consultation, right?
Yeah.
So it now costs £4.85 an hour, right? And what's that going to do? It's going to stop people visiting. And it's not easy to get around York, I have to say. One road in, one road out type thing, congestion around the place. Yes, there's car parking spaces, but goodness me, I mean, this is obviously very, very controversial, and these are the sort of taxes, indirect taxes, that come on all of us. It's now going to cost us so much money just to get there, just to see there. Tell us more.
That's right, Eamon, and the City of York Council have introduced this to try and reduce congestion, to try and get more people on buses, more people cycling to go shopping. But of course, that infrastructure hasn't been put in place. There's not been extra buses put on. There's not been extra bike racks for people to park. And certainly when you're doing a shop, a lot of the shops here are greengrocers, butchers. How are you going to carry all that on a bike? I'd like to introduce you to Karen now. She's just come to pay for parking, expecting that it was going to be 80p. How do you feel when you've just seen this price rise today?
I am really annoyed. I've come out with enough money to pay basically for 2 hours. I'm having my hair done, which then, knowing now that this is, say, triple what it would have been, then my online payment isn't working. So I'm effectively not able to pay, which is really, really, really annoying.
GB News, the People's Channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. If you just tuned in, where have you been? It's near the end of the show. We start at 3. Do not forget that on Saturday and Sunday. Right, 23 minutes after 5 o'clock, and it's now time for this week's big interview, which is with someone who doesn't really need an introduction. Legendary stand-up comedian, actor, singer and TV presenter Jim Davidson, who joins me with his fiancée, Natasha, to discuss his career, his new streaming service that features exclusive stand-up shows and in-depth interviews. So welcome, Jim Davidson and Natasha.
Hi,
soon to be Mrs. Davidson, number 6.
What a title that is.
She always says, hello, I'm Jim's next ex-wife. I can see her going round my house looking at the furniture. She's going, I quite like that bit. And she's making, what are you doing? Nothing, just,
Just pricing it all up and working out how much I'm going to get. What's that noise?
Oh, that's my pacemaker.
Is it? Jim!
I don't know what that noise is.
Oh.
Yeah,
so what's been going on with you? Because we spoke a little while ago. Doing your Ustream, that you set up your streaming service just...
Yeah, a streaming service. During COVID, really, it was just me. And then I signed up all the people you can't see on television, like Jethro and Freddie Starr and all that lot. Then we started making our own programmes, and I do a weekly thing, rather like your show, but with, I just ridicule everything. There's no real news in it. And then we put together Ustream Plus, which is, and the highlight of that is Tash and I, like the Kardashians meet the Osbournes, meet the Davidsons. Great. Yeah, it's
like
hysterical.
A fly on the wall into your relationship and your life.
Yeah, and people write in and say, oh, we prefer it when you're arguing.
Really?
Yeah, they do.
What do you mostly argue about?
Oh, everything. Good morning. Is it? Not morning.
It's fine. Put the bin out. It's a long day. Missed the bin men.
I can't get the bin thing. I don't know what lid.
You put the bin out, I presume, not Natasha.
No.
What?
Yeah. I've got the OBE. I can't do bins. You know what I mean? What's it mean? One bin's enough.
Is it? God, that's what they're there for, Natasha.
No, it's annoying because they come at 7 o'clock in the morning, don't they, on a Friday?
Yeah.
We should put them out on the night before. That's what I do.
It is interesting, though. We call it's Ustream Plus, right? And so it's the JD TV. It's all backstage. It's all there's no performance from me in it, and there's some bits on the boat, isn't there, where we take the boat places like that, and there's a bit backstage when we're filming and seeing what's going on. And of course, I get quite nervous and anxious before I go on stage, and you can see her, shouting at me, "You'll be fine. Just get on."
Do you? Because you don't strike me as someone who would be nervous at all.
Yeah, well, I'm nervous about everything. I'm nervous now.
You're not.
No, I don't. I think as I'm getting older, I find not difficult to do, but I'm thinking, oh, when am I going to be found out? When they're going to realise, hang on, Jim, we don't like you anymore.
Oh, no, that's not going to happen, Jim. You're a legend.
Well, it did. The BBC said, hang on, you're off.
Yeah, but it's their turn now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's their turn.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to be going soon.
Yeah, because I don't know. I worked for the BBC. I got trained by the BBC. I'm grateful to the BBC.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I don't know what's happened to them, why they've kind of gone off piece.
They've all gone funny, haven't they? It's interesting you saying that. We're talking about politics at the moment. And Natasha's here is a member of Reform, and I'm still hanging on to the Conservative Party via the Carlton Club. And Lee Anderson said to me, Jim, the Conservative Party you fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. And there's a very good point in that. And so, I just watch what goes on and ridicule the whole thing, really. But I think Reform are going to just march into power as soon as possible.
Well, it'll be interesting, because we were talking earlier, and they were saying, oh, well, they might implode. I don't know whether people care anymore. I think possibly people are a bit sick and tired of what we've been seeing. They've all imploded, all of them.
I think people have got their fingers crossed. They know the Conservative Party are floundering. They don't like what the Labour Party's done, and they're hoping, come on, Nigel and Lee Anderson and old Ticey, please deliver what you're going to say. Do not start bickering and
oh, God,
don't snatch defeat from the victory of...
victory.
For the thing of what in a bird in the hand's worth two in the as your father.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
No, not me.
You made that one up.
You want me to translate?
Oh, you're gone.
I did, yeah. And so we were supposed to be on honeymoon 2 days ago.
Really? So what happened? You're not on honeymoon?
Oh, well...
I sobered up.
Did you? Very good, darling.
Yeah, the wedding got moved. She sobered up. No, we just had logistical problems with the whole thing, so we postponed it for a while, and it's all going a bit funny. And I said, so are we still going to get married? And she actually said to me, no, I think I've sobered up now, so I won't bother.
No.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I took her straight down the pub and proposed again.
Yeah, got me pissed first.
Apologies for language.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right, darling. They know what you mean. We get it.
She just say a rude word.
She did a little bit.
Sorry, viewers.
It might be allowed, but I don't think it is. So just to
got me drunk
first. In trouble. So you got you drunk.
Too late now, dear.
He got me drunk first.
So you're getting married soon. So have you reset a date, or you have a date?
No, we've sort of gone off it now a bit.
No.
There's such a sour taste in our mouth with the venue and whatever. We'll see what happens. Because we told everyone, and now we've had to cancel it. But there's people flying in from everywhere.
You didn't invite me, Jim. Actually, you
your invite's on the table.
Actually, I never got the invite, but...
Well, no one got it in the end. We saved a fortune on stamps.
So talk to me a bit more about your Ustream Plus, because this is the newer venture, which is kind of behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Well, basically, Ustream was a chance to watch the people you used to laugh at, or people you can laugh at without fear of, being moaned at. It's laugh like you used to laugh. It's a bit of that goes on. You can get it online, ustream.com. You can get it on the television like Netflix. And I wanted to give a present to all the subscribers, so we formed Ustream Plus, which is U-boats. All the boating industry are sending their stuff in. And then JD TV, which is me and Tash. And people really say, oh, we love it when she's got the ump with you. Oh, look at her face, look.
Great.
Look at her in the car.
I can't wait to see it, Natasha. Oh, Jim, how dare you?
Some of the bits he puts on, I'm just like, oh, God, I can't believe you put that.
And she's like, oh, look at my hair. Oh, I can't have that bit. I've got a bit of hair like this. I can't have that.
Oh, I'm not that bad. No. Exaggerate.
You're a woman. You're allowed to be
exactly.
Like that. You're allowed to do
I don't know how they work, women.
Well, clearly, because you're on number 6. How did you guys meet, anyway?
We met at the Southampton Boat Show a couple of years ago, and we went again this year, didn't we? Well, we go every year now. But I was at Sunseeker, as I was walking down, they was standing there at the bar having a glass of rosé, and I walked past. I thought, I recognise that guy.
Yeah.
And the rest is history. He invited us for a drink.
From my point of view, I'd moved away from my house in Stockbridge. Michelle and I had started the divorce proceedings, and I moved into this little place in the Hamble, which I adore. And I still go back there of a Monday night and do the quiz at our local pub. It's great fun. And then we decided, well, I sat there miserable with my mate at the Sunseeker stand, having a glass of Whispering Angel. Oh, yeah. Feeling sorry for myself, and then an angel walked past. I said to my mate, "What the?" I said, "Look at that lady," or words to that effect. And she waved like this, and she walked. I thought, "My God, that's a real angel. God has sent an angel to save me," because I was pretty down.
Yeah.
And I said, "Turn round and look. Turn back and look at me. Turn back, please turn back." And she turned back and waved. That was it. We've been together 2 and a bit years now.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's lovely. It's quite romantic.
It is very romantic. I hope you do get married, because I'm looking forward to coming to the wedding.
Yeah, well, we've got all the clothes.
Good knees up.
Well,
we booked everything.
Because the whole, like, you could do a reality thing on you guys getting married, and the whole, that's going to be...
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
We're only letting
getting
people...
married, we're not getting married.
We're only going to let the TV company have the rights to it if we then get the rights to the divorce as well.
Oh, it's fair enough. You might turn... Have you been married before?
No.
You might turn into a bridezilla. Have you seen that show?
I have.
Oh, these women, they're like, oh, my God.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be that
That would
bad.
be very entertaining.
Yeah, it would be.
It's strange, we're both from South East London.
Yeah.
And I've moved up to live where Natasha lives as well. And so we basically just date and have a great time, although she's still my fiancée. We don't have a date for the wedding yet, but... You know, to be honest with you, to be someone's sixth wife, it takes a hell of a woman to take that load on with very broad shoulders, and I love her for it.
Oh, that's so lovely.
Oh.
Now go home and cook my dinner.
Now go and take the bins out. Jim Davidson, thank you very much. Natasha, lovely to see you. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
We love you, Nana.
Legend that is Jim Davidson and his beautiful fiancée, Natasha. This is GB News, 32 minutes after 5 o'clock. We are live on TV, online and on digital radio. Coming up, the Great British Debate this hour. And I'm asking, should the police have more powers to restrict protests? As the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood announces new powers for forces a day after nearly 500 protesters were arrested at the pro-Palestine protest. You'll hear the thoughts of my panel, Aman Bogle and Andy Williams. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Fantastic.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Amy brought plenty of disruption on Saturday, but the rest of today is turning a little more settled. Those winds continue to ease as we go through the rest of the day. That's all thanks to high pressure developing down towards the south, helping space those isobars apart a little more through Sunday afternoon, though perhaps still a little breezy across the very far north, and still perhaps a little cloudier here too. Outbreaks of rain still feeding in from the west, turning perhaps a little heavier and very persistent at times. Plenty of cloud around to end the day across the northern half of the country, but further south, turning a little drier overnight, plenty of clear spells developing, and under those clear spells, perhaps the odd patch of mist and fog in places, maybe temperatures here dropping down into the mid-single figures, so perhaps a little bit of a chillier start to the day here. But further north, where we do hold on to that cloud and rain, it'll be a bit of a mild start to the new working week, and quite a damp start too across northern and western parts of Scotland. Mostly light, persistent rain feeding in from the west, that continuing throughout much of Monday morning, but staying a little dry across eastern parts of Scotland. A cloudier start to the day across much of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some low cloud, mist and murk over the hills. But for much of southern central parts of England, much of Wales too, it'll be a dry and bright start to the day on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we do see should clear relatively quickly. And that sets us up through much of the day on Monday. That north-south split continues across the country. The south holding on to the best of any sunshine, perhaps some quite prolonged sunshine here, but the north always holding on to that little bit more cloud. Outbreaks of persistent rain feeding in across western parts of Scotland. Temperatures will be up on Monday compared to Sunday, well above average for the time of year, particularly across the south and the east, 20, 21 degrees, and even eastern parts of Scotland could see temperatures into the low 20s. But that north-south split continues as we go throughout Monday evening. The north always holding on to the worst of any conditions in terms of rainfall, and that continues as we go into Tuesday too, but turning a little drier and more settled for most of us by the end of the week, and temperatures staying around average for the time of year.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, 36 minutes after 5 o'clock. Welcome. This is GB News. We are Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akua. And it's time for the Great British Debate. This hour's the last one of the show. I'm asking, should the police have more powers to restrict protests? The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, has said that police forces will be granted powers to put conditions on repeat protests, coming just a day after nearly 500 protesters, which I'm pleased to say wasn't a massive number, although I'm disappointed with the 500 who thought it was a good idea. They were arrested at the Palestine Action protest in central London. But is it right? Should they have more powers? So, for the Great British Debate this hour, I'm asking, should the police have more powers to restrict protest? Well, joining me now, political commentator Aman Bogle, also political commentator Andy Williams. Political commentator. Aman Bogle, what do you think?
Well, look, I think, first of all, the police already has enough powers to deal with what we see on our streets. What we're seeing here is a Home Secretary which has formed for pushing sectarian narratives and activism. Over the last 10 years, she herself has been on protests against Israel.
Really? Where is that seen? Have you actually got evidence of that?
Indeed. She was trying to shut down a Sainsbury's about 2014-15, I think, with about 200 other pro-Palestine activists trying to boycott Israeli goods being sold in British supermarkets.
But people often can change their minds, can't they? I mean, I don't know whether she has, but people can.
Well, that's the question. Has she changed her mind or not? But look, we have a human rights lawyer as a Prime Minister. We have a sectarian activist who just last year, I mean, don't forget, Shabana Mahmood last year, before the election, did a video saying she was the proud daughter of Kashmir. She's born and brought up in Birmingham, Ladywood, right? What's that got to do with Kashmir? Number one. Number two, the whole idea is we see these people washing their hands of responsibility and passing the buck on to police chiefs. I quite agree with what Tom Tugendhat, the former Minister of Security, has said today. He said that policing must shift from full operational independence to operational direction. I think the final buck must rest with elected politicians when it comes to matters of national security, matters of what makes our British Jews feel uncomfortable. I've come up with this thing called the Gandhi test, Nana. And that's a simple test for what is a peaceful protest in the UK. If the people you're protesting against feel uncomfortable walking through your protest, it's not a peaceful protest.
All right, that's reasonable. Andy Williams.
Well, I agree with the first thing Aman said, which is I actually think the police have enough powers to restrict protest already. They actually have quite a significant amount of power to disperse groups, to prevent certain things from happening in certain places. We actually arguably have quite an authoritarian approach to protests in this country. So, no, I don't think they do need any more powers. I was really disappointed to see this protest go ahead yesterday because, you know, as my wife is Jewish. What happened on Thursday was a really, really horrific attack. And I think we absolutely should give people the right and the freedom to go out there and make their voice heard, even if we don't like what they have to say. But I would have liked to have seen those 500 people this weekend decided that maybe that wasn't the right time to go and do that. But look, it's their right in a free country. We don't even know what
they're protesting against anymore. There's now a ceasefire agreed by Hamas, of all people, in Gaza. Most of the Arab world in its agreement with the leadership of President Trump in bringing peace to the Middle East. So what are these people protesting?
Well, there is clearly some people who, you know, within that group of protesters who just don't like the existence of Israel. Let's be frank about it. Not all of them.
Indeed.
But there'll be some of them who are anti-Semitic. There are some who don't like the existence of Israel, and there'll be others who take a more nuanced view.
Many of the protesters, though, and this is from Dougie Beattie's observation, were mostly white, middle class or senior citizens, and there were some real students there as well.
Yeah, of course, it'll be the hard left.
What he saw was not really... I mean, you know, if there is a way to look Palestinian as in maybe slightly darker skin, sure. I don't know what somebody who's Palestinian looks like, but I do know what an English white person looks like. And most of the people there, this is the observation from some of the journalists there, was that it seemed to be a lot of, you know, lecturers from universities, kids at university, and really old people who are British at the protest. You know.
So basically, the establishment elite that has captured both our academia and our institutions. Yeah, the rot runs deep in Britain today, Nana.
Yeah.
And I just want to pick you up on something you said about Shabana Mahmood, though, because we do have to be able to separate what people said or did 10, 11, 12 years ago from how she is behaving as Home Secretary in government. And she's been really clear.
She's literally, as the Home Secretary, begging people not to protest. She feels disappointed. She's the Home Secretary.
And
she's there to do her job.
Lord Hermer as well, who's Attorney General.
But it's not
overwrite things.
Why isn't it up to her?
It's not up to her to tell people they cannot protest. Surely.
Why not? She's the Home Secretary.
Hang on, but surely.
Police.
But I don't think it'd be right to shut down any protest unless it's an illegal gathering of people.
Well, it kind of was, because I suppose these people were in support of Palestine Action, who are a proscribed terrorist group, which is why the police arrested people.
I mean,
they also had banners and things like that which were anti-Semitic and racist.
This is where things get tricky, right? Because if you're very explicitly supporting Palestine Action, which is a proscribed terrorist organisation, that's one thing, and I believe that's criminal offence in itself. But if you're not doing that, that's something else, and that's where it gets a bit murky.
Right, well, listen, we'll leave it there, but we'll come back to that, so stay tuned. But I do have to do this because, of course, a lot of people want to get away and go to Europe somewhere. So if you're looking for some winter sun, here are some European destinations.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean All Clear Skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
It's been very unsettled across parts of the eastern Mediterranean, and it will stay pretty wet across Greece and parts of the Balkans through the next few days. But Iberia, the Canary Islands and also Madeira having plenty of fine weather through the day on Monday. 1 or 2 showers for eastern Spain, but lots of fine sunny conditions across Italy too. We'll run into those thunderstorms and heavy spells of rain there across Greece, some stronger winds as well. And as we go towards Tuesday in the middle part of the week, that unsettled weather will push in towards Turkey as well, so potentially some flooding here.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to GB News, Britain's news channel. I'm Nana Akua. Now, 47 minutes after 5 o'clock, but coming up at 7 on GB News this evening is Free Speech Nation with Josh Howie, and he joins us now. Josh, talk me through what's coming up on the show.
We've got a very packed show after Thursday's tragic murder of Jews. I look at why and how I think it happened. I'm joined by David Collier, who is the man who has uncovered so many lies from our mainstream media when it comes to Israel and to Jews. We're also going to have a debate later on about where these powers that are now going to be implemented, where does it inhibit our freedom to protest, and where does that cross the line when it comes to the inciting of hatred? We're also joined, because it's conference season, by the deputy leader, the former deputy leader of the Green Party, as the Green Party seems to ban any gender-critical women, anyone it disagrees with. And we also have the critical drinker, who is going to be talking about Elon Musk's cancellation of Netflix. It is a very packed show. It's going to be great.
Looking forward to that, Josh Howie. Free Speech Nation at 7 o'clock. You do not want to miss it. But now it's time for Supplement Sunday, the part of the show where I speak to my panel and find out what stories caught their eye. Joining me, political commentator Ammon Bogle and political commentator Andy Williams. Who wants to go first? Andy Williams, what have you got?
I'll go. So I'm not a Swiftie particularly, but Taylor Swift's 12th album came out on Friday morning, and the number of people I know who were waking up at, I think it was 5 a.m. to listen to the album for the first time the moment it dropped. I mean, this woman is a phenomenon, like unlike anything we've seen in music for such a long time. Not massively my thing. I mean, there are a ton of her tunes that I love, but it has captured the imagination of so many people in a way that is just astonishing. She is a phenomenon machine.
I just don't get it. I haven't got a clue. I mean, I think her songs are bad songs.
Oh no, there are some great ones.
Her songs are bad songs. They're horrible.
Shake It Off.
Come on. Oh, it's awful, awful. Take it off, and the it's the sort of thing I'd listen to in a torture cell. They'd be torturing me playing it. I'm Bogle.
Now, what caught my imagination was on the inner pages of the Sun on Sunday, which is bucket spelters. You know, this is a tribute to our brilliant British icon of comedy and drama, Hyacinth Bucket.
Oh, Hyacinth Bouquet. Bucket.
Affectionately known for her appearances in Keeping Up Appearances, Patricia Rutledge, born in 17th February 1929. And she did 44 episodes of that brilliant series. And you know what? I'm often reminded of many of her legendary quotes from her series. You know, who can forget, "I will not have you not thinking in front of the neighbours, Richard," she famously said to her long-suffering husband. But you know what? I think it's fair to say we can all remember her by, "You must come to one of my candlelight suppers," did Hyacinth Bouquet say to her long-suffering neighbour, Elizabeth.
Yeah, I used to love that Hyacinth Bouquet. That was one of my favourites. Well, listen, we'll just quickly read a your say, because David says that he's come for you, actually, Andy. He says, how interesting, Andy Williams saying that he wouldn't hold things that happened 5 to 10 years against them when it comes to Shabana Mahmood. But him and people like Stadlen and very quick to condemn others for their past, I won't say who, talk about hypocrisy. It would be funny if it wasn't so ridiculous.
If only there was an example of that, I'd like to have heard one.
I won't read it out.
OK, right, interesting.
He also you shouldn't call him Andy Pandy as well. How rude.
I think that's quite affectionate. It's lovely, yeah.
I used to love Andy Pandy. He wore those ridiculous golfing trousers. Right, well, stay with us, because throughout the show, I've been asking, who do you trust? Do you trust the Tories on immigration? And according to the results on our GBNews poll, what percentage do you think trust them?
10.
I'm on.
30.
12% of you say yes. Of course, you don't trust
There we
them.
go.
And, of course, 88% of you say no, so not much trust in the Tories.
It's only 2% off what the Tories are actually polling, isn't it? 14, so...
Well, I wonder how many people trust Labour on it, but that's the thing.
Well,
And you know what? This is what we're dealing with. It's a Blairite orthodoxy of 3 decades who will not let things change for the better. We need serious reform in the UK if we're going to get things right.
Says Tory Aman Bogle. Good luck with that one. Well, I've got to say a huge thank you to my brilliant panel. Political commentator Aman Bogle. Thank you very much, Aman. Lovely to see you again.
Thank you.
And political commentator Andy Williams for joining me today. Thank you very much, Andy. And as ever, a huge thank you to you at home for your company. It's been a blast as ever. I look forward to seeing you on Good Afternoon Britain at 12 o'clock, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But I will leave you with the weather. Take care. Enjoy your Sunday.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Storm Amy brought plenty of disruption on Saturday, but the rest of today is turning a little more settled. Those winds continue to ease as we go through the rest of the day. That's also high pressure developing down towards the south, helping space those isobars apart a little more through Sunday afternoon, though perhaps still a little breezy across the very far north, and still perhaps a little cloudier here too. Outbreaks of rain still feeding in from the west, turning perhaps a little heavier and very persistent at times. Plenty of cloud around to end the day across the northern half of the country, but further south, turning a little drier overnight. Plenty of clear spells developing, and under those clear spells, perhaps the odd patch of mist and fog in places. Maybe temperatures here dropping down into the mid-single figures, so perhaps a little bit of a chillier start to the day here. But further north, where we do hold on to that cloud and rain, it'll be a bit of a mild start to the new working week, and quite a damp start too across northern and western parts of Scotland. Mostly light, persistent rain feeding in from the west, that continuing throughout much of Monday morning, but staying a little dry across eastern parts of Scotland. A cloudier start to the day across much of Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, some low cloud, mist and murk over the hills. But for much of southern central parts of England, much of Wales too, will be a dry and bright start to the day on Monday morning. Any mist and fog that we do see should clear relatively quickly. And that sets us up through much of the day on Monday. That north-south split continues across the country. The south holding on to the best of any sunshine, perhaps some quite prolonged sunshine here, but the north always holding on to that little bit more cloud. Outbreaks of persistent rain feeding in across western parts of Scotland. Temperatures will be up on Monday compared to Sunday, well above average for the time of year, particularly across the south and the east, 20, 21 degrees, and even eastern parts of Scotland could see temperatures into the low 20s. But that north-south split continues as we go throughout Monday evening. The north always holding on to the worst of any conditions in terms of rainfall, and that continues as we go into Tuesday too, but turning a little drier and more settled for most of us by the end of the week, and temperatures staying around average for the time of year.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Badenoch